Chapter 32:16. Inside the room, Lu Jun's face was still calm. However, outside the array, facing the attacks of Xiao Chen and the others, the faces of the experts from Heaven Fiend Hall were extremely gloomy. A mere dozen people dared to attack the headquarters of Heaven Fiend Hall. They were courting death. As Xiao Chen and Lin Yun did not attack, the crowd naturally could not sense their true cultivation. After seeing that Long Qing, Lin Yuan, and the others were merely experts at the ancient era's level, many people from Heaven Fiend Hall were burning with anger. They were courting death. Very quickly, some people rushed out of the array and attacked Lin Yuan, Long Qing, and the others. What a joke! It was wishful thinking for these few people to attack the headquarters of Heaven Fiend Hall. Seeing so many people rushing out of the array, Lin Yuan, Long Qing, and the others were not nervous at all. On the contrary, they revealed a faint smile. At that moment, the Holy Ancestor Realm experts of Heaven Fiend Hall had yet to appear. Among the people who attacked, the highest cultivation was merely an ancient era's expert. Their cultivation was the same as Lin Yuan and the others. However, the difference in their combat power was not small. There was no need for Xiao Chen and Lin Yun to attack. Facing the group of people from Heaven Fiend Hall, Lin Yuan and the others took the initiative to attack. Courting death. Seeing that Lin Yuan, Long Qing, and the others did not retreat, the group of experts from Heaven Fiend Hall shouted angrily. They had the same cultivation, but the difference in their numbers was almost twice. Why did Long Qing, Lin Yuan, and the others dare to be so presumptuous? They were furious and felt that they had been underestimated. However, after coming into contact with them, the faces of the people from Heaven Fiend Hall instantly became solemn. It was true that they had the same cultivation and the difference in their numbers was huge. However, why was the combat power of this group of people so terrifying? They had the same cultivation as ancient era's experts, but Lin Yuan, Long Qing, and the others could fight 1 against 2, 3, or even 4 at the same time. What a terrifying combat power! Their cultivation was at the ancient era's level, but their combat power was close to the Holy Ancestor Realm. It was estimated that even an expert who had just entered the Holy Ancestor Realm would not have the same combat power. It was obvious that this group of people was not simple. No wonder they dared to attack Heaven Fiend Hall so openly. After the initial shock, the members of the Heaven Fiend Hall quickly regained their senses. However, even so, they were not too worried. He admitted that Lin Yuan and Long Qing were powerful, but so what? Did they really think that they could take down the Heaven Fiend Hall with just a few ancient living creatures? It was simply wishful thinking. The true experts of the Heaven Fiend Hall had yet to make a move. Those Divine Ancestor Realm elders had yet to appear. Although the Heaven Fiend Hall had the absolute advantage in numbers, it was a pity that they were unable to defeat Lin Yuan and Long Qing. On the other hand, Long Qing, Lin Yuan, and the others had always held the initiative, especially Lin Yuan and Long Qing, who were the strongest. The two of them were fighting 1 against 3, but their battle prowess was still unparalleled, and they even managed to seriously injure 2 of them. If the others had not stopped them and helped them out in time, Long Qing and Lin Yuan would have achieved the first kill. At the same level, and at the level of ancient living creatures, the gap in their combat power was still so big. He really did not know how these guys cultivated. D***MNet. One of the Heaven Fiend Hall warriors who was fighting with Long Qing had a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. Previously, he had been injured by Long Qing in a head-on clash. He could not deny that he had underestimated Long Qing. His eyes were filled with hatred, but there was nothing he could do. The gap between his combat power and Long Qing's was too big, and it was simply impossible to make up for it. If it weren't for his companions distracting Long Qing, he probably wouldn't be standing there right now. With so many people, they could not take down the dozen of them. The faces of the warriors of the Heaven Fiend Hall turned extremely ugly. This was undoubtedly a slap to the face of the Heaven Fiend Hall. Just as the battle seemed to be in a stalemate, a terrifying aura descended from the sky. This aura had obviously surpassed the level of ancient living creatures and reached the level of Divine Ancestor Realm. Feeling this aura, the faces of the people of the Heaven Fiend Hall changed, and their eyes were filled with excitement. It's the Elder. There were 8 elders in the Heaven Fiend Hall, and each of them had the cultivation of Divine Ancestor Realm. Now that the Elder had taken action, in their opinion, Long Qing and the others would definitely die. Sure enough, with the appearance of this aura, a white-haired old man appeared in the sky. As soon as the old man appeared, he seemed to be the master of this space. A faintly discernible fluctuation directly shrouded the entire area. His face was calm, and it was obvious that he was not frightened by the combat power of Long Qing, Lin Yuan, and the others. This was normal. No matter how strong Long Qing, Lin Yuan, and the others were, in the end, only ancient living creatures. Although they were comparable to experts who had just entered the Divine Ancestor Realm, that was only the beginning. The old man had entered the Divine Ancestor Realm many years ago. His cultivation was not considered weak in the Divine Ancestor Realm, so he was not surprised by the combat power of Long Qing and the others. If there was anything to be said, it was just that he was optimistic. After all, it was not rare for ancient living beings to possess such battle prowess. Moreover, Long Qing's group was not weak at all. This was extremely rare and commendable. If you agree to join the Heaven Fiend Hall now, I will spare your lives. The Elder did not take action directly, and it was obvious that he valued talent. The Heaven Fiend Hall was different from ordinary sections. Compared to a sect, the Heaven Fiend Hall was more like a gang. Therefore, there were not as many restrictions as sects when recruiting members. Moreover, he was not worried that Long Qing and the others would betray him in the future. This was because the old man would still leave a mark on Long Qing and the others' spiritual souls after they agreed to join the Heaven Fiend Hall. At that time, the lives of Long Qing and the others would be in his hands for a year. He wanted to recruit Long Qing, Lin Yuan, and the others into the Heaven Fiend Hall. However, when Lin Yuan heard his words, he pushed back the 3 Heaven Fiend Hall martial artists in front of him and said with a look of disdain, "You still don't know that you are about to die. What an idiot." Lin Yuan and the others did not care about the old man's recruitment. What a joke. They did not want to stay in the Emperor Dong's palace and join the Heaven Fiend Hall. Did they have nothing better to do? Moreover, after today, it was hard to say whether the Heaven Fiend Hall would still exist. This old man actually wanted to recruit them. Indeed, he did not know that he was about to die. He only focused on them and did not pay attention to Lin Yun and Xiaochen, who had not taken any action. He did not know that these 2 people were the real existences that would destroy the Heaven Fiend Hall. The Elder of the Heaven Fiend Hall could not be more stupid if he did not notice this. Hearing Lin Yuan's words, the old man's face darkened, and the killing intent in his eyes continued to gather. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. End of chapter. Chapter 32:17. You're courting death. Hearing Lin Yuan's words, the Elder shouted coldly. As a Divine Ancestor Realm expert, it was a great humiliation for him to be insulted by an ancient-era ant. In the Elder's opinion, Lin Yuan was arrogant just because he had a little bit of strength. He thought that he was invincible in the same realm and that he could challenge a Divine Ancestor Realm expert. He had to use facts to tell him that even if he was invincible in the ancient era, he would still be crushed by a Divine Ancestor Realm expert. After saying that, the Elder was about to attack. Moreover, he attacked with his full strength without any intention of probing. He wanted to tell Lin Yuan that no matter how strong he was in the ancient era's realm, he would still be crushed by a Divine Ancestor Realm expert. No one could change that as long as he did not break through to the Divine Ancestor Realm, he would still be mercilessly suppressed. Lin Yuan struck out with his palm and pressed down on Lin Yuan. That terrifying aura caused even the heavens and earth to lose their color. This was the power of a Divine Ancestor Realm expert. It was a terrifying power that could change the world. Seeing that the old man had made his move, the members of the Heaven Fiend Hall around him immediately flew away. "Let's go. The Elder is angry." They were too weak. They could not even withstand the aftershock of a Divine Ancestor Realm expert's attack. As long as they were affected, they would definitely die. As for Lin Yuan, he was already a dead man in their eyes. No matter how strong he was still no match for a Divine Ancestor Realm expert. Everyone fled in all directions. They thought that it would be a palm that would make the world pale. However, when it was about to hit Lin Yuan did not even dodge it, let alone defend himself. It was as if he thought that the palm would not cause any harm to him. The elder naturally saw Lin Yuan's actions. When he saw that Lin Yuan was ignoring his attack, the elder became even more furious, and he increased the strength of his attack. Die for me. Just as the palm print was about to hit Lin Yuan, even though everyone was prepared to deal with the aftermath of the impact, an unexpected scene occurred. The palm print, which was originally unparalleled in power, actually shattered without any warning. That's right, it was directly shattered without even the slightest ripple. It was simply inconceivable. What happened? Why did the elder's attack disappear? Everyone was confused. However, after the palm print slowly disappeared, everyone saw Lin Yun standing in front of Lin Yuan with her hands behind her back. No one saw when Lin Yun appeared there. However, could it be that the disappearance of the palm print was caused by this person? There were countless questions that the crowd couldn't figure out, and the elder's gaze was fixed on Lin Yun. Previously, because Lin Yun and Xiaochen did not make a move, this elder did not care about the two of them at all. But now, after facing Lin Yun directly, the elder suddenly realized that he couldn't see through the person in front of him. That's right, once his divine sense approached Lin Yun, it was like a clay ox entering the sea, there was no response at all. The elder was shocked that he couldn't see through Lin Yun's cultivation. How was this possible? He was a divine ancestor, but he couldn't see through this person. Could it be that this person was an ordinary person without any cultivation? Impossible, it was absolutely impossible. Naturally, he couldn't believe that Lin Yun was an ordinary person without any cultivation. How could an ordinary person come to a place like Heaven Fiend Hall? The elder couldn't help but ask coldly as a trace of seriousness flashed in his eyes. Who are you? I'm the one who destroyed your Heaven Fiend Hall. In response, Lin Yun replied faintly. There was no change in the expression on her face. It was as if destroying Heaven Fiend Hall was just an insignificant matter to her. She was calm and didn't seem to be threatening at all. When the elder heard her words, his face turned even uglier. How dare you? I'd like to see how capable you are. This group of people who dared to attack Heaven Fiend Hall were simply audacious. They didn't take Heaven Fiend Hall seriously at all. It was as if destroying Heaven Fiend Hall was something they could do casually. Even though he was wary of Lin Yun and couldn't see through Lin Yun's strength, the elder was still infuriated by Lin Yun's words. Heaven Fiend Hall was one of the 4 major forces in East Star Continent. In the entire East Star Continent, no one dared to say such words. That's why I said that you're stupid. If I were you, I would have run away immediately. When you can't see through your opponent's strength, shouldn't your first reaction be to plan for the worst? Or do you think that you can fight with me? Lin Yun didn't care too much about the elder. He was just an ordinary lower holy ancestor realm martial artist. Moreover, judging from his aura, Lin Yun knew that the elder's real combat strength was actually far from the holy ancestor realm experts in Emperor Dong's palace. Those who could enter Emperor Dong's palace, especially those below the warlord realm, were the top existences in the same realm. The elder's combat strength was probably not up to the standard to enter Emperor Dong's palace. Lin Yun could easily kill such a holy ancestor realm expert. Hearing Lin Yun's words, the elder was even more furious. His aura kept rising and he attacked Lin Yun fiercely. Lin Yun shook her head in the face of the elder's oppressive aura. Then, an even more terrifying aura rose from her body. Once the aura erupted, it reached the level of holy ancestor realm great perfection. The elder's expression changed drastically. Holy ancestor realm great perfection. He didn't expect Lin Yun to be at the holy ancestor realm great perfection. This made the elder's expression turn ugly. Moreover, he knew that he wasn't Lin Yun's match. However, Lin Yun wasn't too satisfied with the elder's shock. She smiled disdainfully. Holy Ancestor Realm Great Perfection? Are you sure? As she spoke, her aura rose again. Soon, it broke through the limit of the Holy Ancestor Realm and reached a new level. For a moment, the space seemed to be imprisoned. The surrounding laws of heaven and earth disappeared and were replaced by Lin Yun's own laws. A warlord realm Great Perfection could completely control a part of the world. Whether it was spiritual energy, laws, time, or space, everything was completely under the control of a warlord realm Great Perfection. Unless one was also a Great Perfection, it was impossible to break through such a restricted space. This was also the reason why a Holy Ancestor Realm expert had no chance of winning against a Warlord Realm expert even though they were only one step away. Please collect, vote, recommend. Chapter 32:18. In the face of Lin Yun's aura, the Heaven Fiend Hall Elder's face instantly changed. His solemn expression changed to one of fear. If Lin Yun was only at the Divine Ancestor Great Perfection Realm, the Elder probably wouldn't have any cowardly thoughts. After all, although the Divine Ancestor Great Perfection Realm was strong and not someone he could deal with, the Heaven Fiend Hall had more than one such powerhouse. However, the War Ancestor Realm and the Divine Ancestor Great Perfection Realm were completely different. They were two different levels of existence. And at this very moment, the aura that Lin Yun exuded was clearly that of a Battle Ancestor Realm King. War Ancestor Realm King, how is it possible? His eyes were filled with disbelief as he looked at Lin Yun. He never thought that there would be a War Ancestor Realm King among the people who attacked the Heaven Fiend Hall this time. Although there had always been rumors about the existence of a War Ancestor Realm King in the East Star Continent, no one had ever seen one. They had heard of it but had never seen it with their own eyes. Now, a genuine War Ancestor Realm King had appeared in front of them. How could they not be shocked? Damn it! He cursed in his heart. Now, the situation had changed. If the Heaven Fiend Hall didn't put Lin Yun and the others in their eyes before. Now, facing a War Ancestor Realm King like Lin Yun, the Heaven Fiend Hall had to treat her with caution. Sure enough, the moment Lin Yun's aura was exposed, from the depths of the Heaven Fiend Hall, figures rose into the air and then appeared on the scene in a flash. The elders of the Heaven Fiend Hall appeared one by one. There were a total of 8 people. These 8 people were the 8 great elders of the Heaven Fiend Hall, and each of them had a Divine Ancestor Realm cultivation. After the 8 great elders appeared, Lu Jun, who had been cultivating in his room, couldn't sit still. Lin Yun's aura caused Lu Jun, who had been cultivating with his eyes closed, to suddenly open his eyes and murmured in shock. War Ancestor Realm King, how is it possible? As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Jun took a step forward and his figure instantly disappeared. In the next second, he appeared in front of Lin Yun. With the appearance of Lu Jun, all the higher-ups of the Heaven Fiend Hall gathered together. Hall Master. Hey! When they saw Lu Jun, the 8 great elders all called out respectfully. However, at that very moment, Lu Jun was not in the mood to pay attention to them. His eyes were fixed on Lin Yun. Senior, have you offended us by coming to my Heaven Fiend Hall? Facing a War Ancestor Realm King, Lu Jun was still unwilling to offend him. Although the foundation of the Heaven Fiend Hall should be able to withstand the attack of a War Ancestor Realm King, and even be able to repel and seriously injure the other party. But in this way, the Heaven Fiend Hall would have to pay a heavy price. Moreover, in Lu Jun's memory, the Heaven Fiend Hall had never offended a warring Ancestor Realm King. This was normal. No matter how strong the Heaven Fiend Hall was, they would not be stupid enough to offend a king. This was obviously an irrational thing to do. Because of that, Lu Jun did not choose to attack right away. Instead, he wanted to resolve the matter. Hearing Lu Jun's words, Lin Yun smiled. Not at all. Then why did Senior come here? I was just asked to do so. Entrusted by someone? That's right. I was asked to destroy your Heaven Fiend Hall. Facing Lu Jun, Lin Yun did not hide anything and directly stated the purpose of her visit. As soon as she said that, the faces of Lu Jun and the 8 great elders darkened. War Ancestor Realm Kings were indeed very strong, but their Heaven Fiend Hall was not made of mud. She wanted to destroy the Heaven Fiend Hall with just a simple sentence. Who was she looking down on? To be able to become one of the 4 great forces of the East Star Continent, no one would believe that the Heaven Fiend Hall did not have a backup plan. They did not want to become enemies with Lin Yun because they felt that there was no need to do so. They did not want to pay such a heavy price. But if Lin Yun wanted to be aggressive, the Heaven Fiend Hall was obviously not to be trifled with. A glint of meaning flashed in his eyes, and his voice became colder. Senior, this is a little too much. My Heaven Fiend Hall did not offend you. Why do you have to do this? Why don't you stop now? My Heaven Fiend Hall can let bygones be bygones. How about it? It was already considered a concession. Lu Jun could let bygones be bygones when Lin Yun and the others destroyed the array and killed the members of the Heaven Fiend Hall. However, it was obvious that Lu Jun did not understand Lin Yun's character. Hearing his words, Lin Yun laughed without hesitation. Let bygones be bygones? You think too much. I have already said that I am here today to destroy your Heaven Fiend Hall. Why should I let bygones be bygones? Lin Yun was determined to destroy the Heaven Fiend Hall. Lu Jun's face became colder and colder. This guy was completely unreasonable. His words were full of contempt for the Heaven Fiend Hall. It was as if in his eyes, the Heaven Fiend Hall was an existence that could be destroyed at any time. Thinking about it, the Heaven Fiend Hall had been established in the East Star Continent for so long, when had they ever suffered such humiliation? They were afraid of the War Ancestor Realm Kings and did not want to become enemies with them. However, it did not mean that the Heaven Fiend Hall could not contend with the War Ancestor Realm Kings. The Heaven Fiend Hall had its own foundation. Thinking of this, Lu Jun's face turned cold and he said coldly, Senior, if you insist, then we can only fight. Set up the array. Saying that, Lu Jun took the lead and the 8 great elders behind him also took action. The 9 of them instantly formed an array and surrounded Lin Yun. Naturally, they were no match for Lin Yun in a one-on-one fight. Even if they joined forces, it would be difficult to contend with Lin Yun. However, with the support of the array, Lu Jun and the other 8 great elders might be able to contend with Lin Yun. Facing the siege of the 9 great elders, Lin Yun did not panic at all. On the contrary, she revealed a look of interest. Consecutive attack array? Interesting. He did not expect the Heaven Fiend Hall to have mastered a consecutive attack array. Moreover, it seemed to be of a high grade. Lu Jun and the other 8 great elders relied on this array to display the strength of the War Ancestor realm. If it was an ordinary War Ancestor realm king, it might be difficult for them to win. Looking at the 9 great elders, they were supporting each other. Moreover, their cooperation was extremely tacit. It could be said that there were no loopholes at all. With the support of such a high-grade array, the 9 of them joined forces and the result of 1 + 1 was greater than 2. It was a pity that Lin Yun was not an ordinary War Ancestor realm king. In other words, even among the many War Ancestor realm kings in the Fire Phoenix galaxy, Lin Yun's strength was definitely among the top. Lu Jun and the others' consecutive attack array was able to deal with ordinary War Ancestor realm kings. However, if they wanted to use it to deal with Lin Yun, it was clearly not enough. After exchanging dozens of blows, Lin Yun already had several ways to break the consecutive attack array. Of course, the simplest method was naturally to break the array with brute force. Using absolute strength, she could directly crush Lu Jun and the other 8 great elders and break the array head-on. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. Chapter 32:19. After exchanging more than 100 blows with Lu Jun and the other 8, the more they fought, the uglier their faces became. They realized that even though they had used the combined attack formation, they still did not have the slightest advantage against Lin Yun. From the beginning to the end, Lin Yun was able to deal with the combined attacks of the 9 with ease. Lin Yun said with a chuckle as he looked at the constantly changing faces of the 9. It seems that you guys have realized it yourselves. That's right. Although this combined attack formation's grade isn't low and can allow the 9 of you to unleash combat power comparable to a king of the Warlord Ancestor Realm, it's only for ordinary Warlord Ancestor Realm kings. I think you guys should be very clear that there are strong and weak martial artists in any cultivation realm. As the cultivation realm continues to increase, the gap between the strong and the weak will only become bigger and bigger, so, at this point, Lin Yun shut his mouth because he was going to use facts to tell Lu Jun and the other 8 that they were not a threat to him at all. With a thought, a golden spear appeared in Lin Yun's hand. It was Lin Yun's divine weapon that had followed Lin Yun for many years. With the spear in his hand, Lin Yun's aura rose again. Sensing this, Lu Jun and the other 8's faces became serious. As the leader, Lu Jun did not back down and shouted coldly, "Don't look down on others." As he spoke, the 9 of them combined their strength to unleash a powerful attack that went straight for Lin Yun. In response, Lin Yun did not have the slightest intention of dodging. Instead, he chose to meet force with force. Without any other tricks, Lin Yun wanted to defeat Lu Jun and the other 9's combined attack formation head-on. The spear shot out like a dragon. Lin Yun stabbed out and immediately collided with Lu Jun and the other 8's attacks. The terrifying aftershock was rampant. Lin Yuan, Long Qing and the others had already distanced themselves from the beginning to avoid being affected. Sigh, are they really going all out? Cut the crap and leave quickly. Do you want to stay here and seek death? In response to this, the monk still had a smile on his face as he teased. However, he was reprimanded by the Taoist priest at the side. Lin Yun had clearly used her full strength. If she continued to stay, even they would find it difficult to resist. Under Lin Yun's all-out attack, the attacks of Lu Jun and the others were naturally easily defeated. At the same time, the terrifying aftershock spread out in all directions. It also instantly affected Lu Jun and the others. For a moment, before the 9 of them could recover from their shock, the terrifying aftershocks sent the 9 of them flying. How is this possible? With a single strike, he had actually managed to break through their combined formation. Furthermore, it was a head-on clash. He had used brute force to break through the formation. Lu Jun and the others found it hard to accept. After all, the joint attack formation was an extremely high-level formation. Back then, in order to obtain this array, Heaven Fiend Hall had paid a heavy price. Ever since they had this array, it had been regarded as the foundation of the Heaven Fiend Hall. After all, with the support of this array, Lu Jun and the 8 elders could definitely fight against a warlord of the Ancestor Realm if they joined forces. However, the result was that their joint attack formation had been forcefully broken by Lin Yun. Moreover, she had only used one strike. This made it hard for Lu Jun to accept. Was the array too weak? Or was their own strength too weak? Otherwise, how could Lin Yun have broken through it with one strike? Compared to the shock of Lu Jun and the others, Lin Yun was very calm. This was the result that she had expected. Moreover, after succeeding in one strike, Lin Yun did not stop at all. She moved her feet and went straight to one of the elders. Since she had come this time to destroy Heaven Fiend Hall, there was naturally no need to hold back. She would kill one of them first. Seeing Lin Yun's actions, Lu Jun and the others wanted to help, but there was no time at all. Previously, they had been sent flying by Lin Yun. Now, it was impossible for them to arrive in time. Seeing that Lin Yun was about to kill the elder, Lu Jun and the others' faces were extremely gloomy. If they lost an elder, then they would no longer be able to use the joint attack formation. At that time, they would be powerless against Lin Yun. Just as Lu Jun and the others were extremely angry, and everyone thought that the elder would definitely die after Lin Yun's strike, a withered palm appeared out of thin air. It blocked Lin Yun's killing blow for the elder. Lin Yun was not too surprised by the appearance of the palm, as if she had already expected it. The two collided and Lin Yun withdrew her spear. At the same time, in front of the elder, a white-haired, stooped old man with a deathly aura appeared on the scene. Seeing the old man appear, Lu Jun was stunned at first, then he shouted excitedly. "Greetings, ancestor." The person who had come was the ancestor of Heaven Fiend Hall. However, he had not walked in the world for tens of thousands of years. He was the true foundation of Heaven Fiend Hall. With him, Heaven Fiend Hall had the capital to be fearless of war ancestor realm kings. He ignored Lu Jun. In the old man's opinion, Lu Jun did not know that he cared about him at all. He was just a junior. The only person that the old man truly cared about was Lin Yun in front of him, because he was also a war ancestor realm king. The old man was sizing up Lin Yun, and Lin Yun was also sizing up the old man. The two of them looked at each other. Then, Lin Yun spoke first. "Your injuries are not light. War ancestor realm kings were almost immortal existences. Unless they suffered irreversible injuries, their lives would not be in danger." The old man's body was filled with deathly aura. It was not difficult to see that he should be seriously injured. With such injuries, even if it was a divine ancestor realm expert, he would definitely die. However, the old man had endured for such a long time. From this, it could be seen how strong the vitality of a war ancestor realm king was. The old man did not refute Lin Yun's words. Back then, when he went to train, he was besieged by several war ancestor realm kings. Although he managed to escape in the end, he was seriously injured. In addition, the attack of a war ancestor realm king could not be healed by ordinary heaven and earth treasures. Therefore, the old man could only watch as his vitality continued to disappear. In the end, he had no choice but to seal himself. Normally, he would be completely in a deep sleep. He would only wake up when Heaven Fiend Hall was in a life and death crisis. Looking calmly at Lin Yun, the old man said in a hoarse voice. "Why don't you stop now? This old man can make the decision to compensate you. How about that? Today, Heaven Fiend Hall will be destroyed." The old man also did not want to be enemies with Lin Yun, so he did not attack immediately. However, Lin Yun did not agree. Regarding this, a look of helplessness flashed in the old man's eyes. He could only shake his head and smile bitterly. "If that's the case, then I can only offend this old man. Use my old bones to test how strong the current king is. Please collect, please vote, please recommend." Chapter 32:20. The old man was not willing to fight with Lin Yun. After this battle, even if he blocked Lin Yun, both sides would suffer. The old man did not have much lifespan left. In order to protect Heaven Fiend Hall for more time, the old man could only reduce the number of times he attacked. This was because every time the old man attacked, he would consume a considerable amount of his lifespan. However, he had no choice but to attack when facing Lin Yun. Moreover, Lin Yun was still a challenger in her prime. She was still at her peak in all aspects. She was completely different from him, who was seriously injured and did not have much lifespan left. He struck out a palm and fiercely suppressed Lin Yun. However, in the face of the old man's palm, Lin Yun directly flicked her spear and easily defeated the old man's attack. Such a boring test can be skipped. It's meaningless. The old man's attack was meaningless and did not pose any threat to Lin Yun. Hearing this, the old man's face darkened. He did not say anything and immediately engaged in a fierce battle with Lin Yun. The fierce battle between two challengers in the combat ancestor realm was definitely enough to make one's heart tremble. It was not an exaggeration to say that it could destroy heaven and earth. Just one exchange of blows was enough to change the color of heaven and earth. However, in terms of strength, the old man was indeed not Lin Yun's opponent. He was not as good as Lin Yun in his prime, let alone in his current state of being seriously injured. However, after living for so many years, the old man also had his own trump cards. With these methods, he could indeed tangle with Lin Yun. "Sir, please stop. Heaven Fiend Hall is willing to compensate you. If we continue to fight, both sides will suffer." The old man spoke as he attacked. After exchanging blows with Lin Yun, the old man's heart became heavier. Lin Yun's strength far exceeded his imagination. He originally thought that he would be able to suppress Lin Yun, but unfortunately, after a fierce battle, not only was he unable to suppress Lin Yun, he was even suppressed by Lin Yun. This Lin Yun's strength, even among the War Ancestor Realm kings that the old man had talked about in his life, was enough to be ranked at the forefront. Just like those War Ancestor Realms in the Central Continent, their fighting strength was simply abnormal. It was precisely because of this that the old man was unwilling to continue fighting to the death with Lin Yun, because there was a high probability that he would be the one at a disadvantage if he continued to fight to the death. The old man admitted in his heart that he was no match for Lin Yun and took a step back again. Unfortunately, Lin Yun didn't fall for it at all. I have already said that I am here today to destroy the Heaven Fiend Hall. As for the compensation, once I have destroyed the Heaven Fiend Hall, would I still need it? Lin Yun was determined not to give up. Regarding this, the old man also made up his mind. Since there was no way to resolve this peacefully, he could only fight to the death. Besides, since she wasn't Lin Yun's opponent in a one-on-one fight, it didn't mean that she had no chance at all. Don't forget that Lu Jun and the other 9 people are still standing there. Although the 9 people's joint attack array was broken by Lin Yun just now, the 9 people's joint attack was indeed enough to contend against a War Ancestor Realm king. Now that he was added, the old man believed that Lin Yun didn't have much chance of winning. A cold light flashed in his eyes. Since you don't know what's good for you, then don't blame me. No matter what, I will bury this boy here today. Killing a king was definitely something to be excited about. Moreover, after this incident, the prestige of the Heaven Fiend Hall in the East Star Continent would probably increase by a lot. After all, not every force had the ability to kill a War Ancestor Realm king. Thinking of this, the old man shouted to Lu Jun and the other 9 people behind him. Let's attack together. Today, we will definitely kill this boy. He already had the intention to kill. Hearing the old man's words, Lu Jun and the other 9 people immediately prepared to attack. However, when Lin Yun saw this, she didn't care at all. She didn't even look at Lu Jun and the other 9 people, as if they didn't exist at all. Indeed, if Lin Yun were to deal with the old man and Lu Jun and the other 9 people at the same time, she was indeed no match for them. The old man's idea wasn't wrong at all. However, the mistake was that he had underestimated the ability of his side. He thought that as long as he got rid of Lin Yun, there wouldn't be any problems. However, he didn't expect this at all. Or rather, he didn't care about Xiao Chen at all. Your idea isn't bad, but you have neglected a problem. Lin Yun didn't deny the old man's idea and said indifferently. Hearing this, the old man frowned. At first, he didn't understand the meaning of Lin Yun's words. Seeing this, Lin Yun suddenly stabbed out with her spear while smiling faintly. I indeed can't deal with you and Lu Jun at the same time. However, are you so sure that I am the only War Ancestor Realm king on our side? Boom. As Lin Yun's voice fell, not far from the old man, in front of Lu Jun and the others, a terrifying aura soared into the sky. Turning his head to look, he saw that Xiao Chen, who had not made a move from the beginning, had appeared in front of Lu Jun and the others at an unknown time, blocking their path. His aura had also reached the level of War Ancestor Realm King. Moreover, compared to Lin Yun, Xiao Chen's oppressive aura was only stronger. This was another powerful War Ancestor Realm King. 2 War Ancestor Realm Kings. For a moment, the old man's expression changed visibly. How is this possible? He muttered in disbelief. If it was just dealing with Lin Yun alone, the old man still had some confidence. But now, he didn't expect that other than Lin Yun, the other side actually had another War Ancestor Realm King. 2 King Realm Kings appeared in Heaven Fiend Hall at the same time, just to destroy their Heaven Fiend Hall. For a moment, the old man was a little puzzled. Who could actually invite 2 King Realm Kings to take action? This was simply impossible. Even Heaven Fiend Hall would find it difficult to do this. After all, there weren't many War Ancestor Realm Kings. Not to mention too, Even if one wanted to invite a War Ancestor Realm King to take action, the price to pay would be extremely high. With Xiao Chen's existence, Lu Jun and the others wouldn't be able to cause the slightest trouble to Lin Yun. Lin Yun only needed to focus on dealing with the old man in front of her. Compared to the old man, Lu Jun and the others' faces were even uglier. They had just suffered a great loss at the hands of Lin Yun. To be honest, the 9 of them didn't want to face another King Realm King at all. The gap between them was a gap. It wasn't something that could be changed by a simple joint attack formation. But now, the one blocking the 9 of them was another War Ancestor Realm King. This made Lu Jun and the others want to cry but have no tears. Who is it? Who wants to attack my Heaven Fiend Hall? Dead people don't need to know so much. You only need to understand that after today, there will be no more Heaven Fiend Hall. Seeking collection, seeking monthly votes, seeking recommendation. Chapter 32-21. Xiao Chen's sudden appearance made the faces of Lu Jun and the others turn ugly. Lin Yun alone was already difficult for Heaven Fiend Hall to handle. Now that Xiao Chen, a king of the War Ancestor Realm, had appeared, Heaven Fiend Hall was sent to hell. 1 King of the War Ancestor Realm and 2 King of the War Ancestor Realm were 2 completely different concepts. With Heaven Fiend Hall's foundation, they might be able to block the attack of 1 King of the War Ancestor Realm. But they definitely couldn't block the attack of 2 King of the War Ancestor Realm. It could be said that no force in the entire East Star continent had ever been attacked by 2 King of the War Ancestor Realm. Heaven Fiend Hall was the first. Until now, Lu Jun and the others still couldn't figure out who wanted to attack Heaven Fiend Hall. Who had the ability to make 2 King of the War Ancestor Realm attack? He stared at Xiao Chen with an ugly expression, and his expression became even uglier. Compared to Lin Yun, Xiao Chen gave Lu Jun a more dangerous feeling. That was indeed the case. It didn't mean that Xiao Chen was stronger than Lin Yun. It was just that as a sword cultivator, Xiao Chen's murderous aura was stronger. Without waiting for Lu Jun and the others to attack, Xiao Chen's dustless sword appeared in his hand. Why? Aren't you going to continue using the array just now? Without that array, you're no match for me. Xiao Chen was a little interested in Lu Jun and the others' joint attack array. After all, there weren't many joint attack arrays that could raise one's battle strength by a whole realm. However, he was just interested. He wasn't nervous at all. Although Lu Jun and the others' joint attack array was of good quality, it wasn't enough to fight against him. From Xiao Chen's words, Lu Jun could sense Nong's contempt. He didn't put them in his eyes at all. It was as if they were a group of ants that could be easily crushed. As the Hall Master of Heaven Fiend Hall, Lu Jun had never been looked down upon like this. In the past, only he dared to treat others like this. No one dared to treat him like this. However, Xiao Chen was a king of the War Ancestor Realm. He wasn't someone Lu Jun could fight against. Xiao Chen did have the right to look down on Lu Jun. Seeing that Lu Jun and the others didn't have any reaction, Xiao Chen chuckled. Why? Don't plan to attack? If that's the case, I won't hold back. As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Chen did not give Lu Jun and the others any chance. With a flash, his figure instantly disappeared from the spot. Be careful. Lu Jun shouted, but it was too late. Xiao Chen had already appeared in front of one of the elders. The dustless sword in his hand suddenly swept out. The sword light flashed. At the critical moment. Although the elder tried his best to react and successfully avoided being hit in his vitals, he was still injured. However, he was still injured. Blood spurted out from the wound on his chest. The wound was so deep that the bone could be seen. It ran through the front of his body. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Damn it. He secretly cursed. This was the power of the War Ancestor Realm King. A deep sense of powerlessness welled up in his heart. He didn't feel this way when he fought with Lin Yun earlier. Oh, he's not dead? Xiao Chen was not discouraged by the fact that he had failed to kill this person with a single blow. Anyway, he would be able to kill him sooner or later. It was not a problem to let him escape for the time being. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. After regaining his senses, Lu Jun shouted angrily. Form the formation. They knew very well that if they wanted to fight against Xiao Chen, they could only rely on the joint attack formation. Without the joint attack formation, they could only wait for their deaths. They knew this very well, so when they heard Xiao Chen's words, the other 8 elders did not dare to hesitate and immediately got into position. Oh, it's worth looking forward to. Seeing that Lu Jun and the others had set up the joint attack formation, Xiao Chen smiled with interest. With the support of the joint attack formation, the aura of Lu Jun and the others had soared a lot. They had indeed reached the War Ancestor realm. When he saw Lin Yun and Lu Jun fighting, Xiao Chen was somewhat interested in their joint attack formation. Now that he was facing it personally, it was indeed a little strange. Not a bad formation, but unfortunately, it's not a king. Through the joint attack formation, Lu Jun and the others had the ability to fight against a War Ancestor realm king. However, a formation was still a formation. It was still far from enough to deal with a War Ancestor realm king. Even an ordinary War Ancestor realm king would be difficult for Lu Jun and the others to defeat. Although this joint attack formation gave Lu Jun and the others the ability to fight against a War Ancestor realm king, it was only a fight. Those who could become War Ancestor realm king were far from being as simple as they looked on the surface. Moreover, Xiao Chen was not an ordinary War Ancestor realm king. After a round of fighting, Xiao Chen had basically figured out the formation of Lu Jun and the others. The power was not bad, but there were many loopholes. At least, Xiao Chen had countless ways to break it. However, just like Lin Yun, Xiao Chen did not plan to use those opportunistic methods. Instead, he chose to face it head-on. With a swing of his sword, the terrifying sword edge went straight for Lu Jun and the others. Lu Jun's expression was ugly, and his eyes were solemn as he shouted. Be careful. Xiao Chen's attack could not be careless at all. The 9 of them also joined forces and attacked together, blocking Xiao Chen's sword. How many swords can you block? With a slight smile, Xiao Chen attacked again. With a swing of his sword, the second sword edge attacked fiercely. The 2 attacks arrived on time, and Lu Jun and the others were obviously at their limits. The 2 swords ruthlessly tore a hole in the joint attack formation of the 9 people. The elder who was previously injured could no longer withstand the terrifying attack, and his entire body was blasted away. Adding to the injury, the elder suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. His face instantly turned pale, and his aura became too weak. He had successfully broken the joint attack formation of Lu Jun and the others. However, Xiao Chen did not choose to stop. He took a step forward, and his figure instantly appeared in front of the elder who was already seriously injured. Stop! Seeing Xiao Chen's action, Lu Jun hurriedly shouted angrily. Unfortunately, Xiao Chen did not care about Lu Jun's voice at all. He swung the dustless sword in his hand, and in front of Lu Jun and the other 8 people, he killed the elder without any hesitation. The elder was a divine ancestor realm expert, but he was still powerless in front of Xiao Chen. Lu Jun and the other 8 people's eyes instantly turned red when they saw Xiao Chen kill one of their people so easily. They glared at Xiao Chen. As for Xiao Chen, after killing the elder, he only smiled and looked at Lu Jun. Now that there are only 8 of you left, I wonder if your joint attack formation can still be used. Don't be too boring. Lu Jun did not answer, but he clenched his fists tightly. Seeking collection, seeking monthly votes, seeking recommendations. End of chapter. Chapter 32-22. After one of them was killed, the remaining 8 of them were in a heavy mood. The 9 of them had joined forces and performed a combined attack, but they were still no match for Xiao Chen. Now that Xiao Chen had killed an elder, they had no chance of winning. A feeling of despair clearly enveloped everyone's body. Based on the current situation, Heaven Fiend Hall was probably doomed this time. 2 kings of the combat ancestor realm had obviously exceeded the limit of Heaven Fiend Hall. They had no way of dealing with them. Seeing that Xiao Chen was about to attack again, an elder immediately said to Lu Jun, Hall Master, we will stop him. You contact Qingyan sect and ask them to help. Qingyan sect was the same as Heaven Fiend Hall. They were one of the 4 major forces in East Star Continent, and their strength was on par with Heaven Fiend Hall. In Qingyan sect, there was also a king of the combat ancestor realm. If Qingyan sect could help, Heaven Fiend Hall still had a chance. This was the only way for Lu Jun and the rest. Hence, after hearing the elder's words, Lu Jun did not think much and nodded in agreement. Hall Master, everything depends on you now. After saying that, the remaining 7 elders rushed toward Xiaochen without any fear of death. They knew that they were no match for Xiaochen. They only hoped that they could delay Xiaochen for a while and give Lu Jun a chance to contact Qingyan sect. It should be said that they had already made up their minds to die. Xiaochen did not care about the 7 of them besieging him. He immediately engaged in a fierce battle with the 7 of them. Seeing this, Lu Jun naturally did not dare to hesitate. In a flash, he distanced himself from Xiaochen and found a place where there was no one. He took out a token and crushed it. Soon, a light screen appeared in front of Lu Jun. On the other side of the light screen was a middle-aged man. The middle-aged man was the sect leader of Qingyan sect. Like Lu Jun, he was also at the Great Completion realm of the Holy Ancestor realm and had been trying to break through to the Combat Ancestor realm. Brother Lu Jun, what are you doing? Through the light screen, the middle-aged man naturally saw the current situation of Heaven Fiend Hall. The originally magnificent Heaven Fiend Hall was already in a mess. Broken limbs could be seen everywhere. Lu Jun did not beat around the bush and said bluntly, yes. Brother Wang, someone is attacking my Heaven Fiend Hall. I hope that Brother Wang can lend a hand. After this, my Heaven Fiend Hall will definitely reward you greatly. Time was of the essence, so Lu Jun naturally couldn't explain too much. Furthermore, in order to make the Azure Cloud sect take action, Lu Jun was prepared to pay a huge price. Even if they were ruthlessly ripped off by the Blue Cloud sect, it was still much better than being destroyed. Seeing Lu Jun in such a state, Wang Xian naturally guessed that Heaven Fiend Hall had reached a point of life and death. Otherwise, Lu Jun would not have said such a thing. He felt that as long as the Qingyan sect was willing to help, the Heaven Fiend Hall would pay any price. However, to be able to force the Heaven Fiend Hall to such a state, it was obvious that the person who had come was not an ordinary person. Otherwise, why would the Heaven Fiend Hall not be able to defend themselves and even need to seek help from the Qingyan sect? On one hand, it was the temptation of the Heaven Fiend Hall. On the other hand, it was the unknown strong martial artist. At this time, Wang Xian also fell into a state of hesitation, but when he saw Lu Jun's expression, he still nodded. Brother Lu, don't worry. You and I are good friends. Naturally, I won't just stand by and watch. In that case, thank you very much, Brother Wang. Hearing this, Lu Jun couldn't help but feel happy. As long as Wang Xian was willing to help, the Heaven Fiend Hall still had a chance. Very quickly, the 2 of them ended the conversation. At the same time, another scream came from the sky. Looking in the direction of the sound, another elder was killed by Xiaochen. The others were also seriously injured. Seeing this, Lu Jun's eyes burned with anger. Without thinking much, he immediately rushed forward and joined forces with Xiaochen to fight. Now, he could only stall for time until the people from the Qingyan sect arrived. Only then would they have a chance. Just as Lu Jun placed all his hopes on the Qingyan sect, Wang Xian on the other side was also anxious. A group of Qingyan sect experts. In the main hall, everyone took their seats one by one. Wang Xian looked at everyone present and truthfully told them about Lu Jun's situation. Hearing this, someone spoke up. The Heaven Fiend Hall is about to be destroyed. It seems that the person who has taken action this time is not simple. That is indeed the case. Otherwise, how could Lu Jun be so generous? But the situation now is unclear. If we act rashly, won't we get into trouble? Yeah, I think we should figure out the situation first. The people from the Qingyan sect were very cautious. Hearing these words, Wang Xian nodded slightly. At the same time, he told them what he knew. After contacting Lu Jun, Wang Xian immediately ordered people to find out about the Heaven Fiend Hall. As one of the 4 major forces in the East Star Continent, the Qingyan sect naturally had their own spies around the Heaven Fiend Hall. In addition, Xiaochen and the others did not hide their actions at all. Hence, it did not take much effort for Wang Xian to find out about the current situation of the Heaven Fiend Hall. According to the information, the people who have taken action against the Heaven Fiend Hall are a group of strangers. However, they are not weak. Other than the few ancient living beings, the most important thing is that there are 2 kings of the combat ancestor realm. It is these 2 kings that made it difficult for the Heaven Fiend Hall to defend themselves. SSS, hearing Wang Xian's words, everyone present could not help but gasp. No wonder the Heaven Fiend Hall was so nervous. 2 kings of the combat ancestor realm. Not to mention the Heaven Fiend Hall, even the Qingyan sect would find it difficult to deal with them. For a moment, many people were thinking of retreating. Indeed, the Heaven Fiend Hall. Lu Jun's offer was very tempting. As long as the Qingyan sect took action, they would definitely be able to obtain many good things from the Heaven Fiend Hall. However, although these treasures were good, it was not a small matter to offend 2 combat ancestor realm elites. If it was not handled well, it was very likely that it would bring disaster to the Qingyan sect. After a moment of silence, someone spoke up. Sect leader, I think it's better if we don't get involved in this matter. We don't know the background of these people. However, since they are able to send out 2 kings of the combat ancestor realm at once, it can be seen that the background behind this is not small. If we rashly get involved, it will not benefit the Qingyan sect. I think so too. This is the Heaven Fiend Hall's matter. It has nothing to do with the Qingyan sect. Yes, sect leader. At this time, we should think thrice before we act. After knowing the strength of Xiaochen and the others, the higher-ups of the Qingyan sect did not recommend getting involved in this matter. There was really no need. Moreover, for those treasures, offending 2 kings of the combat ancestor realm did not seem worth it. However, hearing the words of the people present, Wang Xian smiled and said softly, "If they are both injured, will we have an opportunity to take advantage of it? Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations." Chapter 32-23. The moment Wang Xian said this, the upper echelons of the Azure Cloud sect fell silent. Originally, they were considering whether or not they should help Heaven Fiend Hall. After all, Heaven Fiend Hall and Qingyan sect had always been on good terms. The 4 superpowers of the East Star Continent were basically divided into 2 camps. The Heaven Fiend Hall and the Qingyan sect were considered allies. But now, Wang Xian did not say whether he was willing to help or not. Instead, he was eyeing the many cultivation resources of Heaven Fiend Hall. He wanted to be the Oriole behind the mantis stalking the cicada. Sure enough, those who could become giants were all black-hearted. At any time, the only thing they cared about was their own interests. As for their past relationships, they were not worth mentioning at all. If he could defeat the entire Heavenly Fiend Hall, then even if he had to offend 2 battle ancestor realm kings, it wouldn't be unacceptable. After all, the Heaven Fiend Hall had been around for so many years and they had a lot of resources in their hands. If they could get their hands on them, they would definitely be able to raise the Qingyan sect to another level in a short period of time. At that time, with the support of these resources, the Azure Cloud sect could become the #1 power in the East Star Continent. Moreover, although the Heavenly Fiend Hall could not deal with 2 war ancestor realm kings. However, if they wanted to destroy the Heavenly Fiend Hall, even if they had 2 war ancestor realm kings, they would probably have to pay a huge price. And this was the opportunity for the Blue Cloud sect. Kill you when you're sick. The Azure Cloud sect would indeed not take the initiative to provoke 2 war ancestor realm kings at their peak. But what if these 2 war ancestor realm kings were already heavily injured? At that time, wouldn't it be very easy to control him? After pondering for a while, someone finally spoke. Sect leader's words are not without reason. Looking at it this time, Tiansha Hall is indeed a great opportunity for us. That's right. If we operate it well, our Blue Cloud sect will definitely be able to stand out and truly dominate the entire East Star continent. Yes, but the only thing we need to pay attention to right now is those two War Ancestor Realm Kings. Let's see how far they will go in the Heavenly Fiend Hall. Wang Xian said after hearing everyone's words. I have already ordered people to keep an eye on the Heaven Fiend Hall. If there are any changes, we will know immediately. Now, we should make our preparations. Once there's an opportunity, we'll choose to act immediately. Sect Master is right. Alright, go and prepare. I'm going to meet the Ancestor. I'm afraid we'll need the Ancestor's help this time. Even if they were facing two War Ancestor Realm Kings who might be heavily injured, they could not be careless. Therefore, the Ancestor of the Azure Cloud sect definitely needed to make a move. With regards to Wang Xian's caution, no one had any objections. After all, this was a gamble to begin with. In next to no time, everyone left the hall successively, and Wang Xian went to discuss this matter with the Ancestor. Lu Jun didn't know what the Azure Cloud sect's decision was. He probably didn't expect that his request for help would turn into inviting a wolf into his house. He had wanted to ask the Qingyan sect to help him, but who would have thought that Wang Xian would turn his attention to the Heaven Fiend Hall? Wang Xian wasn't interested in Lu Jun's compensation. His appetite was too big, so big that Lu Jun couldn't satisfy him at all. What he wanted was the entire Heaven Fiend Hall, including all the cultivation resources and territory. Lu Jun would definitely not give him these things. Hence, Wang Xian chose to attack Heaven Fiend Hall. Almost half an hour had passed, and another two Heaven Fiend Hall elders had died because of Xiao Chen's injuries. As for the Ancestor, he was also being suppressed by Lin Yun. Looking at the blood at the corner of his mouth, everyone knew that the Ancestor wasn't a match for Lin Yun. Even if he relied on the War Ancestor Realm King's strong vitality to resist for a while, the Ancestor would definitely be defeated after a long time. It could be said that the outcome was already decided. Lu Jun had always placed his hopes on the Azure Cloud sect, but until now, he hadn't seen the Azure Cloud sect's shadow. For a moment, Lu Jun was panicking. In order to allow the Azure Cloud sect to come as soon as possible, Lu Jun had already activated the teleportation array. Through the teleportation array, the experts of the Azure Cloud sect could arrive at the Heaven Fiend Hall in an instant. But until now, he hadn't seen any of the Azure Cloud sect's experts. It had been half an hour. If Wang Xian really wanted to help, the situation wouldn't be like this. Damn it, what is Wang Xian trying to do? Lu Jun resisted Xiao Chen with great difficulty. As the elders died one after another, it became increasingly difficult for Lu Jun and the rest to deal with Xiao Chen. At this moment, Xiao Chen laughed disdainfully when he heard Lu Jun's angry scolding as he attacked. As the sect leader of a powerful sect, I really didn't expect you to be so naive. What do you mean? Lu Jun naturally retorted angrily. Not only did this group of people want to destroy the Heaven Fiend Hall, they even humiliated him. However, facing the furious Lu Jun, Xiao Chen's disdain didn't diminish at all. He didn't even try to hide it. It shouldn't be your first time in the world, right? In this situation, you actually put the hopes of the entire sect on others. Isn't that naive? Pray, hope that others will come to save you. You don't know that it's impossible. Instead of thinking about when others will come to save you, why don't you think about whether those people you contacted are secretly plotting how to get a share of the pie from the Heaven Fiend Hall? Xiao Chen's guess was completely correct. There's a saying that goes, everyone kicks a man who's down. It's a very simple principle. When you're strong, everyone around you will revolve around you. They will be respectful and courteous to you. But once you lose your power, your former friends will become your enemies in the blink of an eye. They might even be more ruthless and think of ways to bite off a piece of flesh from you. Just like the Qingyan sect, when they found out that the Heaven Fiend Hall was in danger of being destroyed, did they want to come to their rescue? That's impossible. It's ridiculous that Lu Jun actually put his hopes on them. He's so naive that it's adorable. Hearing Xiao Chen's words, Lu Jun immediately retorted. "Humph, you're trying to mislead people with your lies. If you leave now, I can let bygones be bygones. Otherwise, when the people from the Qingyan sect come, don't even think about leaving today. Even now, he's still threatening me. Moreover, he's using the Qingyan sect to threaten me." Hearing Lu Jun's words, Xiao Chen didn't want to say anything more. He's a fool who can't see anything clearly. It's useless to say anything more to him. Forget it. You see for yourself whether or not anyone will come to save you. The facts will prove everything. After speaking, Xiao Chen slashed at one of the elders with his sword. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. End of chapter. Chapter 32-24. As he spoke, Xiao Chen attacked without warning and killed another elder of the Heaven Fiend Hall. At this point in the battle, all the elders of the Heaven Fiend Hall were seriously injured and had no ability to fight against Xiao Chen. Seeing that another elder was killed, Lu Jun had no choice but to grit his teeth and attack Xiao Chen again. Unfortunately, Xiao Chen did not feel the slightest pressure in the face of his attack. The difference in strength between the two of them was too great. Although the great circle of the Divine Ancestor realm was not bad, as long as he had not broken through to the War Ancestor realm, he could not be compared. Facing Lu Jun's attack, Xiao Chen easily repelled him but did not kill him. There was still a use for Lu Jun. As the Hall Master of the Heaven Fiend Hall, Lu Jun definitely knew where the treasures were hidden. After forcing Lu Jun back with a single blow, Xiao Chen went on to attack the remaining elders. Lu Jun was enough, so Xiao Chen did not intend to let the elders go. Just as the battle on Xiao Chen's side was coming to an end, on the other side, Lin Yun and the Heaven Fiend Hall's Patriarch were also fighting. In a one-on-one battle, the Heaven Fiend Hall's Patriarch was no match for Lin Yun. They were both in the War Ancestor realm, but there was still a difference in their combat strength. Of course, the most important problem was that the Patriarch of the Heaven Fiend Hall was seriously injured, while Lin Yun was in the prime of his life. Naturally, there was no comparison between them. Seeing that the situation on his side was getting worse and worse, the Heaven Fiend Hall's Patriarch panicked. He knew very well what the consequences would be if he fell. At that time, even if Lin Yun was willing to stop, the Heaven Fiend Hall would not be able to survive. Great forces like the Qingyan sect would definitely take this opportunity to attack the Heaven Fiend Hall crazily. It had to be said that as the Patriarch, he saw things much more clearly than Lu Jun. He knew that it was impossible for the Qingyan sect to be sincere. Unfortunately, even if he knew this, he was powerless to change anything. This was because of the difference in strength. How did the Heaven Fiend Hall offend you? What do I have to do for you to stop? Knowing that he was no match for Lin Yun, the Patriarch of the Heaven Fiend Hall said. But Lin Yun only indifferently replied, "That's right. Stop struggling. Today, your Heaven Fiend Hall will be destroyed." How could Lin Yun give up now that things had come to this? Hence, Heaven Fiend Hall had to disappear today. The battle was still going on. With Xiao Chen and Lin Yun holding back the many experts of the Heaven Fiend Hall, Lin Yuan, Long Qing, and the others naturally did not feel much pressure. Even if they encountered the ancient creatures from Heaven Fiend Hall, Lin Yuan, Long Qing, and the others could crush them with their powerful combat strength. Long Qing, Lin Yuan, and the others had been immersed in this realm for so many years. To be honest, there weren't many who could beat them. Perhaps there was such a person in the central region, but there was no such person in the Heaven Fiend Hall. The ancient creatures from Heaven Fiend Hall were killed one by one. As for the others, although many wanted to escape, because Xiao Chen and Lin Yun had sealed the space, no one could escape. What a joke! Even a Divine Ancestor realm expert couldn't break through the means of the Warlord realm, let alone these ants. Hence, many people in the Heaven Fiend Hall were in despair. There was no chance of winning if they fought, but there was no way to escape. It seemed that the only choice left for them was to quietly wait for death. There was nothing they could do. After a few days of fierce fighting, the battle on Xiao Chen's side ended faster. The 8 elders had been successfully killed by Xiao Chen. Lu Jun's cultivation had been destroyed and he was carried by Xiao Chen like a dead dog. "Kill me, kill me." Lu Jun's eyes were lifeless and he kept coughing up blood. However, he kept saying these words. As the Hall Master of the Heaven Fiend Hall, Lu Jun didn't want to watch the Heaven Fiend Hall be destroyed. Perhaps death was the best relief for him. However, Xiao Chen didn't care about this. After opening the Heaven Fiend Hall's treasury, Xiao Chen would naturally give him a quick death. But now was not the time. As one of the 4 major forces of the East Star Continent, there were naturally many members in the Heaven Fiend Hall's headquarters. It was indeed a waste of time to rely on Long Qing, Lin Yuan, and the others to kill all these people. Hence, Xiao Chen directly took action. Sensing the change in Xiao Chen's aura, Lu Jun seemed to have guessed something. His eyes were overflowing with killing intent as he shouted angrily. He didn't expect that Xiao Chen, a warlord realm expert, would actually attack those who hadn't even reached the level of ancient creatures. However, Xiao Chen just said calmly. Since some things have already been done, they can only be done to the extreme. You think that a warlord realm expert wouldn't attack these ants, but have you ever thought that in my eyes, these ants are nothing? Following Xiao Chen's words, under the terrifying pressure, one by one, the members of the Heaven Fiend Hall were directly crushed and their bodies turned into clouds of blood mist. These people's cultivation was so low that they couldn't even withstand Xiao Chen's aura. Just the pressure of his aura was enough to kill them. This efficiency was obviously much faster than Long Qing, Lin Yuan, and the others. Seeing one of his members die, Lu Jun roared helplessly, but he couldn't change anything. As for Xiao Chen, his expression was extremely calm and indifferent from the beginning. Just as he had said, who would care about the lives of ants? It was like an ordinary person stepping on a group of ants to death. Would that person feel guilty because of this? If the gap was too big, there would be no pity. You devil, you! Lu Jun was still cursing wildly. Lu Jun was still cursing like a madman. At that moment, he hated Xiao Chen to the core. This is the reality. Just like those people who were killed by your Heaven Fiend Hall, they also begged to be spared, but did the Heaven Fiend Hall let them go? Survival of the fittest, this is the case for those who are weaker. In this regard, Xiao Chen only replied indifferently. Compared to the blood on his hands, Lu Jun's hands were stained with a lot of blood. In the world of martial artists, there was no such thing as a saint, because those idiots had already turned into bones in the grave. As Xiao Chen's voice fell, a scream was heard. It turned out that the Heaven Fiend Hall's patriarch, who was fighting with Lin Yun, was directly killed. After a few days of fierce fighting, it was already not easy for the Heaven Fiend Hall's patriarch to hold on until now. Unfortunately, he couldn't escape death in the end. The long spear directly pierced through the Heaven Fiend Hall's patriarch's heart. At the same time, the terrifying power directly obliterated his spiritual soul. Without the slightest chance, he was killed on the spot by Lin Yun. Please collect, vote, recommend. Chapter 32-25. After the Heaven Fiend Hall's patriarch was killed by Lin Yun, the fierce battle that had lasted for several days had finally come to an end. The Heaven Fiend Hall, which had once dominated the East Star Continent, had been completely destroyed. The spies from the surrounding forces were also dumbfounded. The powerful Heaven Fiend Hall had been destroyed right in front of their eyes. It was simply inconceivable. At the same time, many forces began to panic. Since the Heaven Fiend Hall had been destroyed, who else in the entire East Star Continent could stop Xiao Chen and the rest? The Heaven Fiend Hall couldn't do it. The Qingyun sect and the other 3 forces couldn't do it either. Especially since the identities of Xiao Chen and the rest were unknown. They were most likely experts from the other 5 regions. If such people wanted to take root in the East Star Continent, it would definitely be a terrifying thing. It would be enough to change the situation of the entire East Star Continent. Moreover, this kind of thing was not uncommon in the Disarray Star Ocean. After all, many experts in the Disarray Star Ocean came from the other 5 regions. They came here for different reasons, but in the end, without exception, they all relied on their own strength to take root in the Disarray Star Ocean and successfully occupied a place. Now, would Xiao Chen and the rest do the same and completely replace the Heaven Fiend Hall's position in the East Star Continent? Or even completely dominate the entire East Star Continent? No one was sure, but many forces had already begun to prepare, especially the Qinyan sect and the other 2 forces. Because the Heaven Fiend Hall had been destroyed, the Qinyan sect and the other 2 forces were likely to be the next targets. Take me to the treasury. Xiao Chen didn't think much about it. He let Long Qing, Lin Yuan, and the rest deal with the fish that escaped the net. He and Lin Yan went to the treasury of the Heaven Fiend Hall. The Qinyan sect originally planned to be the mantis stalking the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. However, after receiving the news from the spies, Wang Xian was stunned. The elder in front of him saw Wang Xian's expression and asked faintly, "Why? Is there a result?" The elder was the Qinyan sect's patriarch and the only warlord of the Qinyan sect. However, his current condition was obviously much better than the patriarch of Heaven Fiend Hall. First of all, he was not seriously injured and his face was ruddy. He did not look like he was about to die. This was normal. After all, unless they suffered irreversible injuries, their lifespans would definitely be terrifyingly long. Wang Xian took a deep breath and said solemnly in the face of his ancestor's question, "Yes, but according to the situation, the 2 War Ancestor Realm Kings don't seem to have suffered any injuries. Even if they killed the ancestor of the Heaven Fiend Hall, they were not injured." Their original plan was to wait until Xiao Chen and the others were in the hands of Qinyan sect before they made their move. But now, it seemed that this plan was not going to work. Xiao Chen and Lin Yan were both uninjured. Facing 2 peak condition War Ancestor Realm Kings, the Azure Cloud sect really did not have the guts to make a move. Even the old ancestor of the Green Cloud sect had a slight change in expression after hearing Wang Xian's words. Even if he was in a better condition than the old man from Heaven Fiend Hall and was confident of winning, he would still have to pay a heavy price. The counterattack of a War Ancestor Realm King before his death was not a joke. However, Lin Yan was able to kill him without suffering any injuries. From the looks of it, the fighting strength of these 2 people was clearly not something ordinary War Ancestor Realm Kings could compare to. Sighing helplessly, the old ancestor of the Azure Cloud sect said, "Forget it, let's not provoke them for the time being." To be able to do this, in the eyes of the old ancestor of the Azure Cloud sect, Xiao Chen and Lin Yan were at least at the great circle of the War Ancestor realm. Such an existence, in a one-on-one situation, he had no chance of winning, let alone 2 against 1. Since he had not clashed with Xiao Chen and the others yet, then he should not make any more unnecessary probes. Otherwise, it was very likely that he would draw fire to himself. At that time, it would bring disaster to the Azure Cloud sect. Hearing his ancestor's words, Wang Xian was still very unwilling, but he still nodded. However, he added one more sentence at the end. "Naturally, there's no way to get the treasures of the Heaven Fiend Hall, but what about the spirit veins and industries? The identity of this group of people is mysterious. If they were not established in the East Star Continent, then our Azure Cloud sect would not turn a blind eye to these spirit veins and industries." Wang Xian's words were indeed reasonable. If Xiao Chen and the others were just passers-by, then they would definitely not be able to take away the spirit veins and industries. Even if they lost the treasures of the Heaven Fiend Hall, if they could take the spirit veins and industries into their own pockets, it would be a huge benefit to the Azure Cloud sect. Let's wait and see. Wealth moves people's hearts, but sometimes we should see the reality clearly. In response, the old ancestor of the Azure Cloud sect said. The Azure Cloud sect became very cautious at this time, but they did not realize that sometimes, even if you did not look for others, it did not mean that others would not look for you. Under the lead of Lu Jun, Xiao Chen and Lin Yan successfully arrived at the treasury. Needless to say, there were indeed many good things in the treasury of the Heaven Fiend Hall. At least, it could satisfy Long Qing, Lin Yuan and the others to break through to the Holy Ancestor realm. However, after collecting, Xiaochen realized that there was still one thing missing, the Heavenly Jade. This was indispensable for breaking through to the Holy Ancestor realm, but there was no such thing in the Heaven Fiend Hall. Everything else was more than enough. Only the Heavenly Dao treasure was missing. Kill me. Lu Jun did not pay attention to what Xiaochen and Lin Yun were thinking. At this time, he only wanted to die. In response, Xiaochen did not waste any more time. He exerted a little force and directly crushed Lu Jun's body, killing him. The two of them did not care about Lu Jun's life or death. Lin Yun looked at Xiaochen and said helplessly, "We are still missing the Heavenly Jade. This is a little difficult." Hearing this, Xiaochen said with a smile, "Even if the Heaven Fiend Hall does not have it, it does not mean that others do not have it. You want to?" Before Lin Yun could finish, Xiaochen smiled and clenched his fist at the space in front of him. A middle-aged man dressed in black was pulled out of the space. This person had been hiding in the surroundings from the beginning, secretly watching everything. However, with his ancient life's cultivation, how could he escape from Xiaochen's eyes? "Senior, please spare my life. I don't mean anything else." After being caught by Xiaochen, the middle-aged man begged for mercy. He knew that if Xiaochen wanted to kill him, it would be too easy. In the face of his begging, Xiaochen only asked faintly, "Which force are you from?" "Senior, I am from the Blue Cloud sect." "Oh? The Blue Cloud sect? Contact your sect leader now and ask him to come to the Heaven Fiend Hall to see me personally. If I don't see him in 4 hours, I don't recommend going to the Blue Cloud sect personally. Request collection, request monthly votes, request recommendation." Chapter 32-26. Hearing Xiaochen's words, the middle-aged man nodded repeatedly, not daring to hesitate at all. What a joke! The two guys in front of him were two killing gods. If they went to the Qingyun sect, wouldn't the Qingyun sect end up like the Heaven Fiend Hall? He had no doubt that Xiaochen and Lin Yun could do such a thing. After all, if they could destroy the Heaven Fiend Hall, they definitely had the ability to destroy the Qingyun sect. He hurriedly went to the side to contact Wang Xian. Xiaochen ignored him. This time, he had gained a lot from the Heaven Fiend Hall. The resources that Long Qing, Lin Yuan, and the others needed to break through to the Holy Ancestor realm were only lacking the Heavenly Jade. As for Xiaochen and Lin Yun breaking through to the Emperor realm, they didn't rely on cultivation resources anymore. This was something that couldn't be helped. "Now I feel that it would be better if the other three forces were destroyed together," Lin Yun said calmly. To Lin Yun and Xiaochen, these words were nothing. After all, the Heaven Fiend Hall had such a rich harvest, so the other three forces shouldn't be bad either. It was indeed tempting. As for the middle-aged man, when he heard Xiaochen and Lin Yun's words, he instantly felt uncomfortable. Were these two guys really crazy? What kind of joke was this? It wasn't enough to destroy the Heaven Fiend Hall. They actually wanted to destroy the other three forces. He only felt his back instantly drenched in cold sweat. At the same time, in the Qingyun sect, Wang Xian also received a message from the middle-aged man. Knowing that Xiaochen wanted to see him, Wang Xian said with a solemn expression, "Why do you want to see me? No matter what the reason is, we should go. At least, we can't become enemies with them." The old ancestor of the Qingyun sect said calmly. He didn't doubt Xiaochen's words. If Wang Xian didn't go to the Heaven Fiend Hall personally, Xiaochen would really kill him. In the end, Wang Xian didn't dare to delay. Accompanied by the old ancestor of the Qingyun sect, the two of them went straight to the Heaven Fiend Hall. They didn't wait for anyone else. This was also to show their sincerity. The fact that the two of them came meant that the Blue Cloud sect had no intention of becoming enemies with Xiaochen. 4 hours passed quickly. In the main hall of the Heaven Fiend Hall, Xiaochen and the others finally met Wang Xian and the Qingyun sect's old ancestor. The two of them rushed over. After seeing Xiaochen and Lin Yun, the Qingyan sect's old ancestor took the initiative to speak. Greetings, fellow Taoists. Although they were both War Ancestor Realm Kings, in front of Xiaochen and Lin Yun, the ancestor of the Azure Cloud sect was extremely humble. As for Wang Xian, he even addressed him as senior. Xiaochen and Lin Yun didn't have much of a change in their attitude towards the two people. Xiaochen only said indifferently, "Sit." Xiaochen sat down. This time, it was Xiaochen who took the initiative to speak. He revealed a smile that was not a smile. "I heard that Lu Jun asked for help from your Heaven Fiend Hall." As soon as these words came out, Wang Xian's expression clearly changed. He quickly said respectfully, "There is indeed such a matter. However, Senior misunderstood. My Qingyan sect has no intention of interfering from the beginning to the end." What a joke! If Xiaochen knew that he originally planned to be the Oriole behind the mantis stalking the cicada, it would be troublesome. "Alright, I don't care about these things. I asked the two of you to come here today because I have something to discuss with you. Senior, please speak your mind. I know what you are worried about. However, we will no longer stay in the Scattered Star Sea. We are just here to travel. As for the matter of the Heaven Fiend Hall, we were entrusted by someone. There is a reason for it. However, since we have destroyed the Heaven Fiend Hall, then the spirit veins and properties that originally belonged to the Heaven Fiend Hall should naturally belong to us. There should be no objections to this, right?" Facing Xiaochen's question, Wang Xian nodded his head very straightforwardly. No, it should be so." "That's good. However, we have no intention of staying in the Scattered Star Sea. These spirit veins and properties are of no use to us. I want to give these things to your Qingyan sect. How about that? Give the spirit veins and properties of the Heaven Fiend Hall to the Qingyan sect?" Hearing this, Wang Xian was stunned at first. However, he quickly reacted. Xiaochen wanted to use the spirit veins and properties to exchange for cultivation resources. Well, since they could not take the spirit veins and properties away, they might as well use them to exchange for some useful cultivation resources. However, he did not know what Xiaochen intended to ask for. That is not a problem. However, I wonder what Senior's request is. As the sect leader of the Qingyan sect, Wang Xian was naturally not an idiot. He knew very well that Xiaochen would not give these things away for no reason. Hence, he did not need Xiaochen to speak and directly stated his request. In response, Xiaochen smiled slightly. "That's right. I like to chat with smart people. Don't worry, my request will not be excessive. I can even let you take advantage of me." Anyway, these spirit veins and properties did not belong to him. Even if he gave them to the Qingyan sect at a low price, Xiaochen would not lose out. In the end, after several people discussed, the price was set. Xiaochen used the spirit veins and properties of the Heaven Fiend Hall to exchange for a lot of cultivation resources from the Qingyan sect. This included the heavenly Dao Jade that Lin Yuan and Long Qing used to break through to the Holy Ancestor realm. A large amount of cultivation resources was enough to make the Qingyan sect feel the pinch. However, on the other hand, to be able to obtain all the spirit veins and properties of the Heaven Fiend Hall at such a price, the Qingyan sect did not lose out. On the contrary, they gained a big advantage. More importantly, in order to be able to smoothly take over the properties and spirit veins of the Heaven Fiend Hall, the Qingyan sect also obtained a promise from Xiaochen and Lin Yun. That was, when the Qingyan sect took over these spirit veins and properties, Xiaochen and Lin Yun could protect the Qingyan sect. To ensure that the Qingyan sect could smoothly control these spirit veins and properties, this was really good news for Wang Xian. After all, although the meat was in front of him, it was really hard to say whether he could eat it or not. Once the other two forces realized that the Qingyan sect wanted to swallow all the spirit veins and properties of the Heaven Fiend Hall, they would definitely not sit back and watch. At that time, the Qingyan sect would have to face the pressure of the other two forces and it would be really difficult to deal with. However, it was different now. With the promise of Xiaochen and Lin Yun, even if they had to face the other two forces at the same time, the Qingyun sect would not be afraid at all. They definitely had the ability to successfully take over the properties and spirit veins of the Heaven Fiend Hall. Thank you, Senior. After everything was settled, Wang Xian stood up and thanked him. He also took the initiative to invite Xiaochen and the others to go to the Qingyun sect. In response, Xiaochen and Lin Yun looked at each other. After thinking about it, they did not refuse and nodded in agreement. Now that the Heaven Fiend Hall was completely destroyed, there was no point in staying. Going to the Qingyun sect was a good choice. The reason why they did not choose to leave directly was that Lin Yuan and Long Qing planned to break through to the Holy Ancestor realm immediately and also needed a place to cultivate in seclusion. Seeking collection, seeking monthly votes, seeking recommendations. Chapter 32-27. Xiaochen's group arrived at the Qingyun sect under the lead of Wang Xian and the old ancestor of the Qingyun sect. They were not worried that the Qingyun sect would harm them. First of all, the Qingyun sect did not have the guts to do so. Even if they did not have the ability to do so. As long as the Qingyun sect made any strange moves, Xiaochen could guarantee that they would end up like the second Heaven Fiend Hall. Wang Xian and the old ancestor of the Qingyun sect were obviously smart people. They knew that they should try their best to be on good terms with Xiaochen's group and not become enemies. In addition, the relationship between the two sides was not bad. At least they had some friendship. Even if this friendship was based on benefits, it was still a good start. Therefore, as long as Wang Xian and the rest did not lose their minds, they would definitely not do anything that would harm Xiaochen's group. In fact, it was indeed so. Along the way, Wang Xian and the old ancestor of the Qingyun sect performed very well. They did not encounter any trouble along the way and arrived at the Qingyun sect. Xiaochen said to Wang Xian directly. Sect leader Wang Xian, my brothers are about to break through. I'll have to trouble you to make arrangements for them. Hearing this, Wang Xian nodded repeatedly. At the same time, he sized up Long Qing, Lin Yuan and the rest without batting an eyelid. There was a storm in his heart. Long Qing, Lin Yuan and the rest were now in the complete ancient era living realm. Such cultivation was actually not in Wang Xian's eyes. However, such a situation would be completely different after Long Qing and the rest broke through to the Saint Ancestor realm. They also had some understanding of Long Qing and the rest. They knew that these people were very strong. They could fight against the Saint Ancestor realm when they were in the ancient era living realm. If they broke through to the Saint Ancestor realm, their fighting strength would definitely increase greatly. There was no doubt that if Long Qing and the rest could really break through, then Xiaochen's group would be able to do whatever they wanted in the East Star Continent. Okay, I'll make arrangements now. Of course, to Wang Xian, he definitely hoped that Xiaochen's group would be stronger. It would be best if the other two forces came to provoke Xiaochen's group again. At that time, Xiaochen and the others would take action, and his Blue Cloud sect would be able to dominate the entire East Star Continent. Of course, this was just Wang Xian's own thoughts. He didn't dare to have the slightest bit of scheming anymore. If Xiaochen and the others found out about this, all their previous efforts would be in vain. Therefore, they could only let nature take its course and not push it. Under Wang Xian's arrangement, Long Qing and the others quickly began their closed-door training. Xiaochen and Lin Yun didn't have much to explain to them. After all, they had been immersed in the ancient living beings for so many years. His foundation was more than sufficient, and he knew exactly how to break through to the sacred ancestor realm. Now that he had sufficient resources, breaking through shouldn't be a problem. It was just a matter of time. He gave the Buddhist bone relic to the monk as well. This time around, the monk had definitely gained the most. Just the Buddhist bone relic alone was enough to allow the monk to be reborn. Long Qing and the others went into closed-door training. Xiaochen and Lin Yun stayed in the Blue Cloud sect. As for the Blue Cloud sect, they also began to take over the spirit veins and properties of the Heaven Fiend Hall. Of course, the former territory of the Heaven Fiend Hall was also given to the Blue Cloud sect according to the agreement. However, such a big move by the Blue Cloud sect naturally attracted the attention of the other forces in the East Star Continent. Anyone could see that the Blue Cloud sect wanted to annex everything left behind by the Heaven Fiend Hall. Such a big piece of meat, no one was willing to watch the Blue Cloud sect swallow it all. However, due to the power of the Blue Cloud sect, the ordinary forces didn't dare to provoke them. Everyone was waiting to see the reaction of the other two forces. As one of the four major forces in the East Star Continent, now that the Heaven Fiend Hall was destroyed and the Blue Cloud sect was anxious to take everything for themselves, the other two forces definitely wouldn't be indifferent. In fact, it was indeed so. The Dragon Phoenix Valley and the Life-Ending Pavilion were already a little restless. Especially the sect masters of the two forces, they had already contacted each other and seemed to be planning to have a go at it. At this moment, in the main hall of the Dragon Phoenix Valley, a middle-aged man was sitting on the main seat. In front of him, there was a light screen. On the light screen, there was a feminine youth. The middle-aged man's name was Long Lai, the Valley Master of the Dragon Phoenix Valley. The feminine youth's name was Insha, the Pavilion Master of the Life-Ending Pavilion. Both of them were at the Divine Ancestor Great Perfection Realm. Insha had a cold smile on his face as he looked at Long Lai and laughed. Why do I only see Valley Master Long and not Valley Master Feng? The Dragon Phoenix Valley was the #1 force in the East Star Continent in name. Compared to the Heaven Fiend Hall, the Blue Cloud sect and the Life-Ending Pavilion, the Dragon Phoenix Valley's strength was stronger. The main reason was that the two Valley Masters of the Dragon Phoenix Valley were husband and wife. They were also experts at the Divine Ancestor Great Perfection Realm. In the face of Insha's question, Long Lai only replied faintly. Feng is still in seclusion. She will be out in a few days. Let's not talk about this. What do you think of the matter that I told you? This time, Long Lai took the initiative to suggest joining forces with Insha because he had received news that the Blue Cloud sect seemed to have formed an alliance with Xiao Chen and his group. With the support of that group of mysterious people, it would be difficult for the Dragon Phoenix Valley to contend with them alone. Because of this, Long Lai took the initiative to contact Insha. He wanted to gather the strength of the two major sects to get a share of the pie. However, in the face of Long Lai's question, Insha shook his head and said, "To be honest, I think it's not wise to take action now." "Why? You refuse?" "No, I don't refuse. I just want to wait." "Wait? Wait until the Blue Cloud sect completely takes over the Heaven Fiend Hall's territory?" Long Lai was somewhat dissatisfied with Insha's answer. Now, he could only watch as the Blue Cloud sect slowly took over the Heaven Fiend Hall's territory. This was unbearable for Long Lai. Once the Blue Cloud sect really took over the Heaven Fiend Hall's territory, wouldn't it mean that the Blue Cloud sect could contend with the Dragon Phoenix Valley? After being the #1 force in the East Star Continent for so many years, how could Long Lai be willing to let others ride on his head? However, in the face of this, Insha still said calmly, "So what if they take it over? As the saying goes, it's easy to conquer a country, but difficult to defend it. To be able to take it over, you have to be able to defend it. Now that the Blue Cloud sect has the support of that group of outsiders, do you think that they can't defend it?" When he said this, Long Lai's face turned ugly. It was because of Xiao Chen and his group that Long Lai was so fearful. Otherwise, how could he have joined forces with Insha? If it was just the Blue Cloud sect alone, Long Lai was not afraid at all. What he was really worried about was Xiao Chen and his group. But now, Insha actually wanted him to wait. Was this a joke? Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. Chapter 32-28. Insha's words made Long Lai very unhappy. In the end, Long Lai said with a face full of displeasure, "Looks like you're no longer as brave as you were back then." Insha wasn't angry at Long Lai's words and the smile on his face didn't decrease. "You're as reckless as ever. Do you really think it's a good opportunity to make a move now? Isn't it? What else can we do when the Azure Cloud sect finishes eating the food in the Heaven Fiend Hall? Forget it. With your intelligence, it's hard for me to explain it to you. As she spoke, she intended to leave. However, right at this moment, a beautiful woman appeared out of thin air on the chair beside Long Lai. She was wearing a red robe and had a beautiful appearance. This was the second Valley Master of the Dragon Phoenix Valley, Feng Ling Pavilion Master In Sha. Please wait. Feng Ling appeared and stopped In Sha. Then, she smiled apologetically. My family is reckless. Pavilion Master In Sha, please don't blame him. I understand what you mean. Looking at Feng Ling, a strange look flashed across In Sha's eyes. Then, he smiled and nodded. Valley Master Feng, you're too polite. I've known Brother Long for many years. I won't get angry over such a small matter. In In Sha's opinion, Long Lai was reckless. Although he was strong, he was just a boorish man. He was far less dangerous than Feng Ling. That's right. Among the two Valley Masters of the Dragon Phoenix Valley, In Sha was more afraid of Feng Ling. This woman was scheming and her methods were very sinister. Most importantly, as a woman, Feng Ling didn't have any so-called loyalty. Her way of doing things was based on benefits. There were many people in the East Star Continent who had been cheated by this woman. It could even be said that Feng Ling was the one who handled all the big and small matters in the Dragon Phoenix Valley. Long Lai didn't want to care and couldn't care. Long Lai didn't even know many things that the Dragon Phoenix Valley had done. Feng Ling was the real brain of the Dragon Phoenix Valley. Long Lai didn't understand what In Sha meant, but Feng Ling had long understood. From In Sha's words, it wasn't hard to guess that the life-ending pavilion already knew something. Perhaps Xiao Chen and the rest had no intention of the East Star Continent. In other words, this group of outsiders was just a passerby. The reason why they helped the Azure Cloud sect was because of some kind of transaction. In that case, if the Dragon Phoenix Valley and Life-Ending Pavilion attacked now, it would be equivalent to offending these outsiders. This was obviously not worth it. It would be better to wait for a period of time and wait for Xiao Chen and the others to leave before making a move against the Qingyan sect. At that time, without the help of Xiao Chen and the others, even if the Qingyan sect had completely taken over the Heaven Fiend Hall's territory and properties, with the combined strength of the Dragon Phoenix Valley and the Life-Ending Pavilion, they would be able to take it back. At that time, they could even directly destroy the Blue Cloud sect. At that time, the East Star Continent would be the world of the Dragon Phoenix Valley and the Life-Ending Pavilion. Feng Ling even had an idea in her heart at this moment. That was to take advantage of the destruction of the Azure Cloud sect before attacking the Life-Ending Pavilion. In any case, in terms of strength, the Dragon Phoenix Valley definitely had the advantage. As long as the Life-Ending Pavilion was destroyed, the Dragon Phoenix Valley would become the only overlord of the East Star Continent. It had to be said that Feng Ling was indeed smart and far-sighted. They were still discussing the matter of the Blue Cloud sect, but she had already set her sights on the Life-Ending Pavilion. Perhaps it was because of this that in the eyes of the In Sha, Feng Ling's level of danger was far higher than Long Lai's. The In Sha Pavilion Master's suggestion is not bad, but after the matter is done, how do we divide it? Naturally, it's 50-50. No problem. This time, Feng Ling agreed very straightforwardly. The In Sha was not surprised by this. However, Feng Ling added at this moment, don't worry. However, I think that other than waiting, we should still take the initiative to attack. At least, we should express goodwill to that group of outsiders. Taking the initiative to express goodwill was Feng Ling's idea. It was to prevent any unforeseen events from happening when they attacked the Qingyan sect. After all, everything now was just a guess. No one knew the extent of the relationship between Xiao Chen and the Qingyan sect. If the two sides really had other relations, then when they attacked the Qingyan sect, it would probably be dangerous. Taking the initiative to express goodwill was something that the In Sha had to do. The In Sha did not reject this. Probing was also what he wanted. That's fine, but who should we send? Since they were going to take the initiative to contact Xiao Chen and the others, the people they sent definitely could not be casual. The best choice was naturally one of the three, Yin Sha, Long Lai, and Feng Ling. With the three of their status, personally visiting would also show more sincerity. Feng Ling smiled slightly in response to the Yin Sha's question. I just came out of seclusion. Why don't I go? Feng Ling took the initiative to volunteer. Long Lai, who was at the side, did not have much of a reaction. It was as if Feng Ling had directly grasped all the right to speak since she came, while Long Lai had become a foil. Moreover, looking at Long Lai's appearance, he seemed to be used to it. He was not unhappy at all and only felt that everything was normal. On the other hand, the Yin Sha looked at Feng Ling with deep meaning. Facing the Yin Sha's scrutinizing gaze, Feng Ling calmly looked back at him. After a while, the Yin Sha finally nodded. In that case, I'll have to trouble Valley Master Feng. It's a small matter. Since we're cooperating, we naturally have to work together. That's good. After the discussion, the Yin Sha did not stay for long. Soon, the light screen was a small matter. On the other hand, Long Lai stood up casually and hugged Feng Ling with a smile. Madam, you've been in seclusion for a long time this time. Father misses you to death. In the face of Long Lai's enthusiasm, Feng Ling quietly dodged. After which, she let out a lovely laugh. Husband, if you want to play, you'd better go find your concubines. I still have important things to do. After saying that, she left gracefully. Long Lai did not mind at all, even though he and Feng Ling had not been intimate for a long time. In Long Lai's heart, the person he had always loved the most was Feng Ling. In his opinion, Feng Ling was sensible. She did not even object to him looking for other women outside. Moreover, she would take the initiative to meet these women and bring them to the Dragon Phoenix Valley. In Long Lai's opinion, this was completely Feng Ling's deep sense of righteousness towards him. Who would not like such a woman? Unfortunately, Long Lai did not see that when Feng Ling turned around, a look of disdain flashed in her eyes. There was even a hint of disdain. On the way out of the hall, Feng Ling's expression became calm once again. However, her natural charm was completely natural, making her extremely alluring. I wonder who the two War Ancestor Realm Kings are. I'm looking forward to it. She looked in the direction of the Blue Cloud sect and revealed a faint smile. This smile made Feng Ling even more beautiful than before. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. Chapter 32-29. Feng Ling was prepared to take the initiative to visit Xiao Chen and Lin Yun in the Azure Cloud sect. Although Feng Ling told Long Lai and Yin Sha that she wanted to take the initiative to befriend Xiao Chen and Lin Yun, only she herself knew the actual situation. She personally went to the Dragon Phoenix Valley's treasure vault. Since she was going to visit, she definitely couldn't go empty-handed. Even if Xiao Chen and Lin Yun were both War Ancestor Realm Kings and might not be interested in the treasures of the Dragon Phoenix Valley, it was still a token of goodwill. Seeing Feng Ling coming, the two elders in charge of guarding the treasure vault took the initiative to welcome her. Although Feng Ling was beautiful and extremely attractive, the two elders didn't dare to take another look at her. In the Dragon Phoenix Valley, almost all the elders knew that Feng Ling was an extremely dangerous existence. She was incomparably beautiful, but her methods were ruthless. If anyone dared to covet Feng Ling, they would definitely end up in a miserable state. Even Long Lai was being toyed with by Feng Ling from the beginning to the end. Ignoring the two of them, Feng Ling directly entered the treasure vault and began to choose a gift. 3 days later, Feng Ling came to the Azure Cloud sect alone. Hearing that it was Feng Ling, a hint of fear flashed across Wang Xian's eyes. What is this woman doing here? She seems to be here to visit Senior Xiao Chen and Senior Lin Yun. I reckon this woman is up to no good again. Wang Xian sneered. He knew very well that this woman would definitely not do something useless. Every step of hers was carefully planned. If anyone underestimated this woman, they would probably suffer a great loss. Feng Ling was invited to the main hall. Looking at Wang Xian, Feng Ling smiled slightly. This smile was truly indescribably beautiful. The few elders of the Azure Cloud sect who were watching couldn't help but be stunned. But very quickly, these people lowered their heads and didn't dare to look at Feng Ling. Although a beauty was good, if this beauty was a poisonous snake that could take your life at any time, then you shouldn't provoke her. Otherwise, you wouldn't even know how you died. Their relationship with the Dragon Phoenix Valley had never been good. It could even be said that they were somewhat hostile. Therefore, the upper echelons of the Azure Cloud sect knew a lot of extremely secretive things about the Dragon Phoenix Valley. Among them was the matter regarding Long Lai and Feng Ling. It was said that Long Lai was able to marry Feng Ling because Feng Ling needed someone like Long Lai to help her. Not to mention other things, this Long Lai's strength was very strong and his talent was also very high. Feng Ling had taken a fancy to him because of this. However, the marriage between the two actually had no feelings at all, or it could be said that it was Long Lai's unrequited love. No one knew the specifics, but it wasn't hard to see that the relationship between the two of them was very complicated. Long Lai now had 3 sons, but none of them were from Feng Ling. They were all born from Long Lai's other concubines. Furthermore, the real person in charge of Dragon Phoenix Valley was actually Feng Ling, and not Long Lai. Valley Master Feng, what brings you to my Qingyan sect today? Looking at the beauty in front of him, Wang Xian asked with a chuckle. Although he was all smiles on the surface, he had always been wary of this woman. In response to Wang Xian's question, Feng Ling smiled faintly. Sect Master Wang Xian, don't you know why I'm here? Feng Ling was here to see Xiao Chen and Lin Yun. Regarding this matter, Feng Ling was confident that Wang Xian wouldn't stop her. This was because he had no reason to make a decision for Xiao Chen and Lin Yun, so he would definitely ask Xiao Chen and Lin Yun for instructions. As expected, after hearing this, Wang Xian replied without much hesitation. I can't make the decision on this matter. I have to ask Senior. Valley Master Feng, please wait a moment. No problem. After saying that, Wang Xian went straight to Xiao Chen and Lin Yun's residence. After notifying them, Wang Xian respectfully bowed and asked when he saw Xiao Chen and Lin Yun. Senior, Valley Master Feng Ling of Dragon Phoenix Valley has come to our Qingyan sect to pay her respects to Senior. Oh, Dragon Phoenix Valley. Xiao Chen and Lin Yun naturally knew about Dragon Phoenix Valley. They didn't expect that they would actually come to pay a visit. This was rather interesting. After pondering for a moment, Xiao Chen said with a chuckle. Let her come. Xiao Chen was still somewhat interested in Feng Ling's visit. After receiving Xiao Chen's consent, Wang Xian respectfully retreated. Although he didn't want Dragon Phoenix Valley to have any connection with Xiao Chen, Wang Xian had already agreed. Since Xiao Chen had already agreed to meet Feng Ling, Wang Xian naturally didn't dare to have any objections. This was also the reason why Feng Ling was so confident in this trip. Soon, under Wang Xian's lead, Feng Ling met Xiao Chen and Lin Yun. Wang Xian was smart enough not to stay for long. Since he couldn't stop Dragon Phoenix Valley from contacting Xiao Chen and the others, then Wang Xian could only do his best to leave a good impression on Xiao Chen and the others. When he first saw Feng Ling, Xiao Chen's first impression was that she was stunning. That's right, this was a woman who could amaze Xiao Chen. In terms of appearance and temperament, she didn't lose to Qin Shuru and the others in the slightest. However, with Xiao Chen's current standards, he naturally wouldn't be attracted by beauty. In just an instant, Xiao Chen said indifferently. You are Feng Ling? The others faced Feng Ling. Perhaps they would be absent-minded, perhaps they would have many thoughts, but Xiao Chen was abnormally calm. Regarding this, Feng Ling was also disappointed. As expected of a king of the War Ancestor realm. Even when facing her, he could still be so calm. This little girl is Feng Ling. I heard that the 2 seniors were staying in the Azure Cloud sect, so I specially came to pay a visit. Oh, tell me, what is your purpose for coming here? Xiao Chen didn't think that Feng Ling was just here to pay a visit. Although he hadn't interacted with her before, Xiao Chen's intuition told him that this woman in front of him wasn't simple. At least, she wasn't as simple as she seemed on the surface. Feng Ling had always been magnanimous in the face of Xiao Chen's inquiry. Just this bearing alone was not something that Wang Xian and Lu Jun could compare to. This was also the strongest person Xiao Chen had seen in the East Star Continent. In fact, from the beginning, Xiao Chen could tell that Feng Ling's cultivation had already reached the half-step war ancestor realm. In other words, her cultivation was higher than Wang Xian, Lu Jun, Yin Sha, and Wang Wai. And according to the rumors in the outside world, Feng Ling's cultivation was only at the perfected divine ancestor realm. She wasn't even as good as her husband, Wang Wai. This woman had deceived everyone in the East Star Continent, including her husband, who was with her day and night. And to be able to do this, no matter what her methods were, just her temperament was deep enough. And often, people who had deep thoughts and knew how to hide were very dangerous. This was the experience that Xiao Chen had gained along the way. This little girl doesn't dare to hide it from Senior. This time, I did come to discuss something with Senior. This little girl boldly says that this time, I came for the territory and business of the Heaven Fiend Hall. What the Azure Cloud sect can give Senior, this little girl can also give. What the Azure Cloud sect can't give, this little girl can still give, including myself. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendation. Chapter 30-30. What the Qingyan sect can give you, I can also give you. What the Qingyan sect can't give you, I can still give you, including myself. As she spoke, Feng Ling smiled charmingly at Xiao Chen and Lin Yun. However, she had underestimated Xiao Chen and Lin Yun. If it were anyone else, they might really be attracted to such a beautiful and moving Feng Ling. However, Xiao Chen and Lin Yun did not change their expressions at all. Xiao Chen and Lin Yun had long disregarded beauty. Moreover, which of the women around Xiao Chen and Lin Yun were not outstanding beauties? Although Feng Ling was also of the highest quality, she was only on par with Qin Shuru and Fairy of 100 Flowers. Therefore, Xiao Chen did not care about what Feng Ling said at all. Do you think you are very attractive to us? I don't dare, I'm just willing to pay any price. Alright, don't think about the Heaven Fiend Hall anymore. What happened before and what will happen after, at least before we leave. The Dragon Phoenix Valley might be able to offer better conditions than the Qingyan sect, but Xiao Chen did not care at all. Whether it was more or less, it was completely meaningless to the current Xiao Chen. Since he had promised the Qingyan sect first, Xiao Chen would naturally keep his word. As for whether the Qingyan sect could keep these things after he and the others left, it would depend on their ability. After all, from the beginning, everyone had discussed that Xiao Chen and the others would only help the Qingyan sect take over the Heaven Fiend Hall's territory. Other matters had nothing to do with Xiao Chen and the others. Moreover, Xiao Chen and the others could not stay in the scattered star ocean forever. Everyone's real destination was the central region. Hearing Xiao Chen's answer, Feng Ling did not show too much disappointment, as if she had already guessed it. She bowed slightly and smiled. Since Senior has said so, I will naturally obey. However, I actually have one more thing to tell Senior today, or rather, a piece of news. Speak. This woman was really scheming. From the moment they met until now, every word she said had a purpose. Seeing Xiao Chen's indifferent look, Feng Ling said with a chuckle. Senior, you should know that our scattered star sea is mainly made up of 4 continents. At the border between the East Star Continent and the South Star Continent, there's a place called Constellation Island. This star cluster island was originally a deserted island, but recently, there have been frequent anomalies, and tokens have inexplicably appeared. According to our investigation, there should be an Emperor's tomb on this star cluster island, and these tokens are the keys to enter. My Dragon Phoenix Valley was lucky enough to obtain a few tokens previously. Today, this little girl specially gave them to the 2 seniors. As she spoke, Feng Ling withdrew a spatial ring and passed it to Xiao Chen. Besides the 2 tokens, there were many treasures within the spatial ring. These were all Feng Ling's greeting gifts to Xiaochen. However, Xiaochen was not even interested in looking at these treasures. He directly took out his token. It was very ordinary, and he could not see anything extraordinary about it. After carefully studying it for a moment, Xiaochen did not find anything, so he asked indifferently. "Are you sure it's a ruler's tomb?" 90% sure. Feng Ling was very smart and did not say anything definite. She only said 90%, but this was basically no different from being sure. Hearing this, Xiaochen looked at Lin Yun. Obviously, he was asking Lin Yun for her opinion. Was Feng Ling's words reliable? In response, Lin Yun nodded his head. First of all, Feng Ling would not dare to joke about this matter, not to mention that it was to Xiaochen and Lin Yun. If she dared to lie to them, the Dragon Phoenix Valley would not need to exist anymore. Secondly, even if everything was fake, there was no harm in taking a look. Moreover, it was related to a ruler's tomb, so there should be many good things inside. Xiaochen and Lin Yun were more interested in the inheritance left behind by a ruler. It might not be useful to them, but at least it could let Xiaochen and the others understand more about a ruler and how to break through. Seeing Lin Yun nod, Xiaochen made a decision in his heart. Not bad. When are we leaving? Half a month. Okay, you can come to the Azure Cloud sect when the time comes. Xiaochen planned to go and take a look. At the same time, he asked her to leave. Xiaochen had no interest in Feng Ling from the beginning to the end. Regarding this, a hint of disappointment flashed across Feng Ling's eyes for the first time. This was the first time she had been rejected by a man. However, no matter how unwilling she was, since Xiaochen had already spoken, Feng Ling had no choice but to back down. While Feng Ling left, on the other side, Wang Xian immediately found his patriarch. Wang Xian was a little nervous that Feng Ling had come personally. Or rather, he was more concerned about the matter of the Heaven Fiend Hall. It was clear that Feng Ling had come for the matter of the Heaven Fiend Hall. If Xiaochen and the others were persuaded by Feng Ling, then all the efforts of the Azure Cloud sect would be in vain. This made Wang Xian very worried. Compared to him, the Azure Cloud sect's patriarch was very calm. I've already said that you have to be calm no matter what. Patriarch, how can I be calm? Do you think Feng Ling can convince them? Who can say for sure? If the Dragon Phoenix Valley is willing to pay more and raise a higher request, there might be a chance to move the two seniors. You really underestimate the King of the War Ancestor realm. In fact, from the moment the two of them agreed to us, the Heaven Fiend Hall's territory was already ours. No matter how many resources the Dragon Phoenix Valley took out, it couldn't change this point. Compared to that little bit of treasure, the King of the War Ancestor realm cares more about face and their own promises. What is a king? Once a word is said, it's hard to take it back. This is the demeanor of a king. So, it's impossible to use treasures to move the king. Moreover, instead of worrying about gains and losses, you might as well think about how to successfully hold on to the Heaven Fiend Hall's territory. You must know that those two will leave sooner or later. When they are here, they might be able to intimidate everyone. But what about once they leave? At that time, there will probably be many people who will jump out. At that time, it will be the true test of our Azure Cloud sect. Can we keep the Heaven Fiend Hall's territory? The Azure Cloud sect's patriarch said indifferently. Wang Xian was too nervous, so much so that he didn't see what he should have seen. When Feng Ling came, he panicked. He didn't understand that the so-called treasure was nothing in the eyes of the War Ancestor realm. Or rather, the treasure that Xiaochen and the others wanted was not something that the Dragon Phoenix Valley could take out. So, what could Feng Ling use to convince Xiaochen and the others? Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. Chapter 32-31. Just because of Feng Ling, Wang Xian was scared to such an extent. The ancestor of the Azure Cloud sect was indescribably disappointed. Although Feng Ling was not simple, as the sect leader of the Azure Cloud sect, Wang Xian was indeed embarrassed. Don't forget, Wang Xian and Feng Ling were destined to be opponents. But could Wang Xian really lead the Azure Cloud sect to deal with the Dragon Phoenix Valley? His heart was filled with mixed feelings. In the end, the ancestor of the Azure Cloud sect waved his hand and said, "Go, think about what happens next. That's the right way to go." After leaving the Azure Cloud sect's ancestor's place, Wang Xian was indeed a little embarrassed. He knew that he was too nervous earlier and had lost all face. After returning to his residence, Wang Xian asked an elder of the Azure Cloud sect beside him, "Where's Feng Ling? Is she still with the two seniors?" "She left a long time ago." "She didn't stay for long." Feng Ling had left, and she had only stayed with Xiao Chen and Lin Yun for a short while. It was obvious that she had been chased out by Xiao Chen. Hearing this, Wang Xian couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. As long as Xiao Chen and Lin Yun didn't reach any agreement with the Dragon Phoenix Valley, it would be fine. It had to be said that just from this point alone, Wang Xian was indeed far inferior to Feng Ling. As the sect leader of a sect, he was actually complacent over such a small matter. If it was Feng Ling, she probably wouldn't take these things to heart at all. On the other side, Feng Ling, who was released from the Azure Cloud sect back to the Dragon Phoenix Valley, did not feel the slightest bit annoyed by Xiao Chen's attitude. In any case, she had already achieved her goal. Xiao Chen and Lin Yun had agreed to go to Cluster Star Island. She knew that even a War Ancestor Realm King would not be able to refuse the Emperor's tomb. This was Feng Ling's true goal. After returning to the Dragon Phoenix Valley, Long Lai immediately appeared to welcome her. When he saw Feng Ling, he asked with concern, "How is it? Did everything go smoothly?" Perhaps Long Lai himself didn't realize that when he was in front of Feng Ling, he didn't look like the head of a sect at all. He was more like a servile servant. This scene was naturally witnessed by many elders of the Dragon Phoenix Valley, and Feng Ling only replied indifferently to this. "I'm all right. I'm tired. I need to rest." After saying that, he ignored Long Lai and left by himself. Looking at Feng Ling's departing figure, not only was Long Lai not angry in the slightest, he even felt that all of this was natural. Long Lai was indeed in Feng Ling's grasp. In fact, it wasn't just Long Lai. There was another biggest secret in Dragon Phoenix Valley. Other than Feng Ling, no one else knew about this secret. On the way back, Feng Ling went through a secret entrance and went underground. Who would have imagined that there would actually be such an enormous space beneath Feng Ling's residence, and at the center of this space, there was an old man who was bound by countless chains. Furthermore, there was a huge formation on the ground. With the help of the array, the old man's spiritual energy was constantly being extracted. Not only was it spiritual energy, but it was also the power of law and other powers. All of this energy was gathered into a small pool at the side, forming a huge waterside spring. With the sound of footsteps, Feng Ling slowly walked in front of the old man. If there were outsiders present, they would definitely be able to recognize that this old man was none other than the patriarch of Dragon Phoenix Valley and Long Lai's biological father, Long Mo. To the outside world, Long Mo had always announced that he was in closed-door cultivation. Who would have thought that he would actually appear here? Furthermore, it seemed that he was actually controlled by Feng Ling. A half-step combat Ancestor Realm powerhouse was actually able to control a combat Ancestor Realm powerhouse. This was truly unbelievable. However, this scene was the truth. Seeing Feng Ling arrive, Long Mo, who was already as thin as a matchstick, slowly raised his head. His eyes were filled with hatred as he sneered. "The worst thing I've done in my life is to accept you as my disciple and invite a wolf into my house." That's right. Feng Ling was Long Mo's disciple, and Long Lai was Long Mo's son. The two of them had known each other since they were young, which was why they got married. However, Long Mo did not expect Feng Ling's heart to be so deep. Especially after marrying Long Lai and becoming the Valley Master of Dragon Phoenix Valley, Feng Ling's ambition continued to grow. In the end, she even used a scheme to capture him. As for Feng Ling's intention, Long Emo already knew. This woman actually wanted to use him to break through to the combat ancestor realm. The formation that trapped him was called the Spirit Fiend Formation. It could continuously extract spiritual power and the power of laws from Long Mo's body. In the end, these spiritual power and the power of laws were naturally all absorbed by Feng Ling. As for Long Emo, his final outcome was naturally to die from exhaustion of spiritual power. Looking at Long Mo's face filled with hatred, Feng Ling smiled indifferently. Invite a wolf into your house? No, this is called survival of the fittest. You and your father don't have the ability to bring glory to the Dragon Phoenix Valley, so I appeared. You can't blame anyone for this. Feng Ling had never hidden her ambition. She wanted to control absolute power, and she also wanted to break through to the combat ancestor realm or even become a ruler. However, with her talent, it was very difficult to break through to the combat ancestor realm using normal methods. That was why she targeted Long Mo. Using Long Mo's many years of cultivation and life as the price to help her break through. This was also why Feng Ling's cultivation had improved so quickly that it had even surpassed Long Lai. Hearing Feng Ling's words, Long Mo did not speak again. From the anger and killing intent at the beginning to the resistance and hope at the end, to the despair at the moment. In fact, Long Mo had long understood that he no longer had a chance. He could not break this Spirit Fiend formation at his peak, let alone in his current state. As for his Long Lai, that idiot, his biological father had been missing for so long, but he did not notice at all. With his ability, it was simply wishful thinking for him to deal with Feng Ling. He knew that Long Lai adored Feng Ling. It was precisely because of this that Long Lai could be said to be Feng Ling's puppet. Therefore, Long Mo had long given up hope. The outcome had long been decided, and he would eventually become nourishment for Feng Ling to break through to the combat ancestor realm. Seeing that Long Mo was no longer speaking, Feng Ling did not say anything else. She came to the side of the spiritual pool and slowly took off her clothes. Her beautiful body was enough to make any man obsessed. Feng Ling slowly walked into the spiritual pool and said to Long Mo with her back facing him. Don't worry, it'll be over soon. When the time comes, I'll send you and your father to reunite in another world. Consider it a favor for teaching me for so many years. After saying that, Feng Ling closed her eyes and began to cultivate. The spiritual qi and the power of laws that originally belonged to Long Mo surged into Feng Ling's body crazily. Please collect, monthly vote, recommend. Chapter 32-32. Long Mo's eyes were filled with despair as he looked at Feng Ling, who was cultivating with her eyes closed. This woman was very ambitious, and her methods were extremely ruthless. It could be said that she would do anything to achieve her goal. Now, he was firmly under her control. As for the situation outside, Long Mo could guess that the entire Dragon Phoenix Valley had probably been wiped out by her. However, his foolish son did not notice at all. The truth was indeed so. All the important positions in the Dragon Phoenix Valley were already Feng Ling's people. It could be said that Long Lai had no power at all, and he could not command the others in the Dragon Phoenix Valley. Several days passed before Feng Ling slowly opened her eyes. Today, she was going to the Azure Cloud sect to pick up Xiaochen and Lin Yun. Then, they would head to the Star Cluster Island together. She was still so beautiful that people would be involuntarily mesmerized just by looking at her. Unfortunately, under such a perfect skin, there was an extremely dangerous soul hidden. She glanced at Long Mo indifferently and ignored him. She directly left the underground palace. In Feng Ling's eyes, Long Mo was already a dead man. The day she broke through to the War Ancestor realm would be the day of Long Mo's death. After leaving his residence, Long Lai was naturally worried when he found out that Feng Ming was leaving again and would be going out for a period of time. Feng the Emperor's tomb on Star Cluster Island is too dangerous. Furthermore, one has to be at least a half-step War Ancestor realm to enter. What are you going to do? This fool did not even know his wife's true cultivation base. Actually, quite a few people knew about Cluster Star Island, but the entry requirements alone were enough to keep countless people at bay. If one wanted to enter the Emperor's tomb on Star Cluster Island, one had to be at least a half-step War Ancestor realm. For a moment, everyone felt regretful. This was also the reason why the Dragon Phoenix Valley did not send a large number of people to Star Cluster Island. Since he couldn't get in, why should he waste his energy and energy? However, Feng Ming only replied indifferently. Let's go take a look. It's hard to say what we'll gain. Then I'll go with you. What if you go to the Dragon Phoenix Valley? Feng Ming naturally couldn't let Long Lai go with him. With a few simple words, he pacified Long Lai. Feng Ming went to the Blue Cloud sect alone. At the same time, in the Azure Cloud sect, the Azure Cloud sect's ancestor was drinking tea with Xiao Qin and Lin Yun. The three of them were all playing with the War Ancestor realm. Although Xiao Qin and Lin Yun were stronger than the ancestor of the Azure Cloud sect, in the end, they were all existences on the same level. Therefore, unlike other people, the Qingyun sect's patriarch was indeed able to say a few words in front of Xiao Qin. Moreover, after becoming familiar with each other, the three of them would often chat together as if they were friends. Brother Xiao Qin, Brother Lin Yun, the tomb of the emperors on Constellation Island should be opening soon. Well, it should be about time. You should be going too, right? Naturally, I don't think anyone would be willing to miss such an opportunity. As long as one met the conditions, naturally no one would miss it. Moreover, it wasn't just the East Star continent. It was said that all the War Ancestor realm kings in the entire chaotic Star Ocean would come this time. The tomb of an emperor was simply too tempting for War Ancestor realm kings like them. Even if they didn't obtain the inheritance of this emperor in the end, there might still be other opportunities. At this point, the Azure Cloud sect's patriarch hesitated. There's something I don't know if I should say. What's the matter? Just say it. Brother Xiao Qin, you have to be careful of Feng Ming from the Dragon Phoenix Valley. That woman isn't simple. Moreover, that old fellow from the Dragon Phoenix Valley hasn't appeared all these years. I've actually had some guesses in my heart. The person the Azure Cloud sect's patriarch was talking about was naturally Long Mo. Indeed, people like Long Mo and him rarely paid attention to the secular affairs of the world. Even their respective sects were left to their juniors to handle. Unless they encountered a life-and-death crisis, they would not appear. Take the disciples of the Azure Cloud sect for example. Some of them had joined the Azure Cloud sect for decades but had never seen the Azure Cloud sect's patriarch. However, even though that was the case, Long Mo's situation was too strange. After so many years, there was no news at all. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. The Azure Cloud sect's patriarch even guessed that old man Long Mo might have been killed by Feng Ming. However, thinking about it, he felt that it was impossible. With Feng Ming's strength, how could she be a match for Long Mo? However, if he didn't think so, he wouldn't be able to explain these things. No matter what, Feng Ming's danger was obvious to all. The Azure Cloud sect's patriarch was just reminding him out of goodwill. Most importantly, Feng Ming was extremely tempting to men. Although Xiao Qin and Lin Yun were already War Ancestor realm kings, it was hard to guarantee that they wouldn't be attracted. Xiao Qin only smiled at the Azure Cloud sect's patriarch's worry. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. The Azure Cloud sect's patriarch was thinking too much. Feng Ming was not simple, but she was still far from being able to attract Xiao Qin and Lin Yun. Lin Yun did not care about Feng Ming at all, and Xiao Qin was the same. Seeing this, the Azure Cloud sect's patriarch could only nod in agreement. 3 days later, Feng Ming came to the Azure Cloud sect again. Xiao Qin, Lin Yun, and the Azure Cloud sect's patriarch boarded Feng Ming's spatial spirit ship together, planning to head to Cluster Star Island together. The Azure Cloud sect's patriarch naturally did not have a good attitude towards Feng Ming. If not for Xiao Qin and Lin Yun, he probably would not have traveled with Feng Ming. On the other hand, Feng Ming actually took the initiative to smile and greet the Azure Cloud sect's patriarch when she saw him. It could be seen how scheming this woman was. However, after seeing Xiaochen and Lin Yun, Feng Ming ignored the Azure Cloud sex patriarch and went forward to bow. This little girl greets the two seniors. Nodding slightly, Lin Yun directly entered the room, while Xiaochen stood on the deck. With the activation of the spatial spirit ship, they instantly disappeared into the sky and quickly headed towards Cluster Star Island. The East Star Continent was not far from Cluster Star Island, but it would take a few days by spatial spirit ship. Because the tomb had not been opened yet, Xiaochen and the others were not in a hurry. Looking at the scenery of the East Star Continent, it was quite good, and it made people's mood involuntarily better. Just as Xiaochen was admiring the beautiful scenery, Feng Ming slowly came to his side and said with a smile, "Senior, are you interested in the scenery of the East Star Continent? If possible, this little girl is willing to accompany Senior to explore the East Star Continent." Hearing this, Xiaochen turned to look at Feng Ming with a faint smile on his face. This glance made Feng Ming suddenly quiver, as if her entire person was seen through by Xiaochen. She could not help but feel nervous. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. Chapter 32-33. Feng Ming wanted to rope in Xiaochen, and Lin Yun was very obvious, although he did not know her exact goal. From the moment they boarded the ship, Lin Yun and the patriarch of the Azure Cloud sect had been in their rooms and did not come out. Feng Ming did not even have a chance to speak to them. Thus, she naturally came to look for Xiaochen. However, facing Xiaochen's gaze, Feng Ming could not help but feel nervous. Over the years, Feng Ming had seen quite a few combat ancestor realm kings. However, none of them gave her the feeling that Xiaochen was on par with her. Feng Ming was actually nervous in front of Xiaochen. This was simply inconceivable. "Are you nervous?" Just as Feng Ming's heart was in a mess, Xiaochen said with a chuckle. In response, Feng Ming instinctively shook his head. "Senior, you must be joking. I didn't do anything. Why would I be nervous?" I heard that the patriarch of the Dragon Phoenix Valley, Long Mo, has disappeared for a few years." Feng Ming did not know what Xiaochen meant by suddenly mentioning Long Mo, but her heart tightened for no reason. What did he want to do? She was nervous, but she still forced a smile on the surface. "Master has been in seclusion, so he hasn't appeared in recent years." "Oh?" "Actually, most people guessed the same, but I have a different opinion." At this point, Xiaochen paused for a moment and looked at Feng Ming with a meaningful gaze. Then, he continued unhurriedly. "If I'm not wrong, Long Mo should have already fallen into your hands. If he wasn't killed, he should have been imprisoned by you." Boom! The moment these words were said, it was no less than a thunderclap in Feng Ming's ears. The matter of imprisoning Long Mo was Feng Ming's greatest secret. Furthermore, this secret could not be known by others. Otherwise, the matter would be extremely serious. At the very least, before she broke through to the combat ancestor realm, this matter could not be known by others. Therefore, in the face of Xiaochen's words, Feng Ming still intended to forcefully defend herself. However, before she could speak, Xiaochen spoke first. "I know you're not a simple woman, but I'm not interested in prying into your intentions. Of course, I hope you don't provoke us. Anyway, to you, we're just passers-by." After that, Xiaochen walked away. Xiaochen could feel that Feng Ming had always wanted to use him. That was why he had said so much to her just now, which was rare of him. He had even mentioned Long Mo. After saying so much, Xiaochen actually just wanted to warn Feng Ming not to have any ideas about him anymore. To put it bluntly, Xiaochen didn't care what Feng Ming wanted to do, and Feng Ming didn't have to worry about Xiaochen and the others ruining his plan. After all, Xiaochen and the others wouldn't stay in the East Star Continent for long. After leaving the Sovereign Tomb, they would probably leave after the Long Qing, Lin Yuan, and the others broke through to the Divine Ancestor realm. Therefore, Feng Ming didn't have to do that at all. Looking at Xiaochen's back as he left, Feng Ming felt cold sweat break out on her back. What a terrifying man. How could she, who was smart, not know that this was Xiao Chen's warning to her? This was the first time, and it would probably be the last time. If she still wanted to use Xiao Chen and the others in the future, Xiao Chen would probably attack her without hesitation. She took a deep breath and forced herself to calm down. After this conversation, Feng Ming was indeed much more obedient in the next few days. At least, she didn't dare to be like before. Xiao Chen was naturally satisfied with the changes in Feng Ming. After traveling for a few days, they left the East Star continent and were about to arrive at Cluster Star Island. Cluster Star Island was like its name. It was an archipelago scattered in the starry sky. The area of each island was not large, and the smallest ones were only a little more than 10 square meters. And this time, the location of the Emperor's tomb was on the main road of Cluster Star Island. The main island was the largest, but it wasn't much bigger. At least compared to the East Star continent, it was simply too small. Originally, there weren't many people who came to Cluster Star Island, but with the appearance of the Emperor's tomb, Cluster Star Island suddenly became lively. Even according to the rules, one had to be at least a half-step War Ancestor Realm cultivator to have the qualifications to enter the tomb. However, there were still many people who came to try their luck. Perhaps they would gain something? No one was willing to give up the opportunity to become stronger. After entering the main island, Xiao Chen saw that there were space dragon boats all around. Moreover, these space spirit boats were all heading in the same direction. There really are a lot of people here. It's useless no matter how many people there are. If you're not a half-step War Ancestor Realm, you definitely won't be able to enter the tomb. The Qingyun sect's ancestor said indifferently. The Qingyun sect had already confirmed this point. This was also why, other than the Qingyun sect's ancestor, no one else followed. It could be said that it was wishful thinking to come here to try their luck. There was no chance at all. Xiao Chen, Lin Yun, and the Qingyun sect's ancestors stood on the deck, while Feng Ming stood not far behind the three of them. Although Feng Ming still hadn't given up on the idea of roping in Xiao Chen and Lin Yun, she had obviously restrained herself a lot after the last time. Soon, the group of people arrived at a valley. In the valley, there was a small lake. According to the Qingyun sect's ancestor, this lake was the entrance to the tomb. At this moment, the periphery of the valley was already filled with people, but they didn't dare to approach the lake. The reason was very simple. At this moment, above the lake, there were more than 10 space spirit boats, and on these space spirit boats, without exception, there were War Ancestor Realm kings. With so many kings gathered together, those martial warriors with low cultivation naturally didn't even have the qualifications to approach. However, Xiao Chen and the others didn't care about this. They steered the space spirit boat and directly approached the lake. Following the arrival of Xiao Chen and the others, countless divine senses swept over in an instant. Especially in the dozen or so space spirit boats above the lake, the divine senses of the kings frantically swept over. In response, Lin Yun coldly snorted and released an aura, instantly dispersing these divine senses. Using divine senses to scan others so unscrupulously was definitely extremely impolite. If it was the strong against the weak, it was understandable. However, if the difference in strength between the two sides wasn't too great, then it was very likely that they would offend the other party. Lin Yun naturally couldn't tolerate this. However, as Lin Yun's aura was revealed, an aura also soared into the sky from one of the space spirit boats. Following which, a cold shout rang out. "Heh, what a temper. What, do you think you can cover the sky with one hand? Please collect, please vote, please recommend." Chapter 32-34. With so many War Ancestor Realm kings gathered together, there was naturally no lack of conflict. Moreover, Xiao Chen and Lin Yun were unfamiliar faces, so they were naturally not taken seriously by the other kings. However, the person who provoked him clearly didn't know Lin Yun's temper. As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Yun didn't respond at all. Instead, she directly slammed her palm towards the spatial spirit ship. Without saying a word, she directly chose to make a move. Everyone present was stunned. Although the kings didn't like each other before, no one would directly choose to make a move. The tomb was about to open, and no one wanted to be injured at this time. And once a battle between kings broke out, it was definitely impossible to escape unscathed. Because of this, even though the kings were all hostile, in reality, they were all very restrained. Unfortunately, Lin Yun was different from others. Others might be worried about this and that, but Lin Yun wouldn't think so much. You're courting death. The sudden turn of events caused everyone to be unable to react. However, as Lin Yun's target, the War Ancestor Realm King immediately shouted angrily. At the same time, he flew out from the cabin and blasted out a circle, blocking Lin Yun's attack. This palm naturally couldn't land on the spatial spirit ship. Otherwise, no matter how good the spatial spirit ship was, it wouldn't be able to block the palm of a War Ancestor Realm King. The two of them collided head-on. The War Ancestor Realm King glared at Lin Yun, but Lin Yun was naturally not afraid of him at all. Taking a step forward, her figure instantly appeared in front of this person. Looking at the sturdy middle-aged man in front of her, Lin Yun's expression was as calm as an ancient well. With a thought, a long spear instantly appeared in her hand. Looking at Lin Yun's actions, the middle-aged man's eyelids twitched wildly. Was this guy crazy? He had just ridiculed him, but this guy actually attacked without saying a word. And from the looks of it, he wasn't prepared to let the matter rest. Wasn't he worried about the Emperor Tomb? One had to know that once one was injured, one would be at a disadvantage in the following competition. That was indeed the case. Lin Yun had no intention of stopping. Just as the middle-aged man was letting his imagination run wild, Lin Yun had already thrust her spear towards the middle-aged man. Facing Lin Yun's attack, the middle-aged man's face sank as he cursed inwardly. Lunatic. This guy was definitely a lunatic. Otherwise, how could he do such a thing? Everyone else was trying their best to restrain themselves so that a fight would not break out. That was why no battle had broken out before. Even if they didn't like each other, they would just mock each other and wouldn't really attack each other. But as for Lin Yun, she didn't have any intention of boasting at all. If she was unhappy, she would fight. Lin Yun was unscrupulous, but this made the middle-aged man suffer. However, he had no choice but to use all his strength to deal with Lin Yun's attacks. As soon as she attacked, Lin Yun's terrifying power made the middle-aged man's heart jump. His strength was very strong. Even among the Battle Ancestor Realm Kings, Lin Yun's strength belonged to the strongest group. The middle-aged man knew that he wasn't a match for Lin Yun. The pressure was too strong. He immediately regretted it. If he had known that it would be like this, he wouldn't have said anything just now. He was simply lifting a rock and smashing his own foot. Unfortunately, Lin Yun didn't give him the chance to regret. Facing Lin Yun's attack, the middle-aged man took the initiative to retreat and dodge the attack. If he were to attack with all his might, the middle-aged man was sure that he would be the one to lose in the end. The best outcome would be that both sides would be injured. Of course, the higher probability would be that he would die and Lin Yun would be injured. He already had the intention to retreat, but unfortunately, his attack didn't hit. Lin Yun didn't give him the slightest chance to catch his breath. She leaned forward again and stabbed the long spear in her hand at him. As he dodged and resisted, the middle-aged man had no choice but to lower his head. Fellow Taoist, it was all a misunderstanding just now. There is no enmity between us. There is no need to be like this and let others take advantage of you. He took the initiative to lower his head. As he spoke, the middle-aged man took the initiative to pull away. Then, he didn't give Lin Yun a chance to attack and hurriedly cupped his hands and bowed. Fellow Taoist, please calm down. It was indeed my fault just now. Facing the man's initiative to lower his head, Lin Yun didn't attack again. She only gave the man a deep look, then turned around and left. Seeing this, the middle-aged man heaved a sigh of relief. She was a madman. She was simply an unbridled madman who didn't consider the consequences. After this battle, the other kings present didn't dare to underestimate Xiaochen, Lin Yun, and the others in the slightest. First of all, she had the personality of attacking whenever she wanted. Such a person was like a piece of sticky candy. No one was willing to provoke her. Moreover, the tomb was about to open, so no one wanted to cause such trouble. Most importantly, although Lin Yun was crazy, she was still abnormally powerful. Among the many War Ancestor Realm kings present, at least 99% of them knew that they weren't Lin Yun's match. Only 1 or 2 people might be able to fight against Lin Yun. There was also a division of strength between kings, and Lin Yun was undoubtedly one of the strongest kings. An extremely powerful and unscrupulous madman. This was the reason why everyone was afraid of him. Returning to the splint again, Xiaochen didn't find Lin Yun's actions strange. He knew Lin Yun's personality. Now our ears are close. Lin Yun smiled at Xiaochen and said softly. The brief exchange just now had indeed intimidated the others. In this way, he believed that there wouldn't be any ignorant people who would come and provoke him again. Indeed, no one will come. Regarding this, Xiaochen nodded in agreement. After seeing Lin Yun, if anyone dared to take the initiative to provoke her, they would probably have lost their minds. Feng Ming, who was at the side, looked at Xiaochen and Lin Yun, who were talking softly. His eyes were filled with a complicated expression. These 2 men were really overbearing. At least, Feng Ming had never seen such overbearing people. Even those War Ancestor Realm kings couldn't compare to them. One had to know that the person Lin Yun had faced before was not some random cat or dog, but a genuine War Ancestor Realm king. But Lin Yun still did not give him any face, and just hit him as he wished. He could be considered to have seen the other side of Xiaochen and Lin Yun. Next, Xiaochen drove the spatial spirit boat to the center of the lake without restraint. There were only 2 spatial spirit boats docked in this large space. Even the other War Ancestor Realm kings didn't dare to casually approach this area. But now, seeing Xiaochen's spatial spirit boat drive in so openly, no one dared to say anything. It was because Lin Yun's strength was already enough to be on par with the 2 of them. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. End of chapter. Chapter 32-35. Xiaochen drove the spatial spirit boat and slowly entered the center of the lake. The 2 spatial spirit boats that were already parked here did not have the slightest indication of Xiaochen and the others' arrival. However, just as Xiaochen parked the spatial spirit boat, a hoarse voice suddenly sounded out from one of the spatial spirit boats. The tomb will open in a few days. Why don't the 2 of you come over for a few drinks? He took the initiative to invite them. Regarding this, Xiaochen and Lin Yun looked at each other. Clearly, they did not have any intention of rejecting, and the Azure Cloud Sex ancestor took the initiative to speak. I'll stay on the boat. The Azure Cloud Sex ancestor knew the identity of the person who spoke just now, as well as the other person. The 2 of them could be said to be the publicly acknowledged strongest in the Scattered Star Ocean. Qinzhan and Wu Qin. These 2 names could be said to be famous in the Scattered Star Ocean. For example, although the Azure Cloud Sex ancestor was also a king of the War Ancestor Realm, he could not be compared to Qinzhan and Wu Qin at all. It was said that the 2 of them were the first king of the War Ancestor Realm to appear in the Scattered Star Ocean, and they were also the king of the War Ancestor Realm who had existed for the longest time. Their cultivation had long reached the limit of the War Ancestor Realm. Among the many kings, they were definitely the top group of people. The Azure Cloud Sex ancestor was still very self-aware. He knew that he was not qualified to drink and chat with the 2 of them. Moreover, Wu Qin, who spoke just now, only mentioned the 2 of them. With Wu Qin's strength, it was obviously impossible for him not to know of the existence of the Azure Cloud Sex ancestor. However, he still said so. There was only one possibility, and that was that Wu Qin had no intention of calling the Azure Cloud Sex ancestor for a chat. Hearing the words of the Azure Cloud Sex ancestor, Xiaochen and Lin Yun did not force him. As for Feng Ming, it was even more impossible for her to have the slightest chance. Nodding slightly to the Azure Cloud Sect's ancestor, Xiao Chen and Lin Yun stepped into the air and arrived on one of the spatial spirit boats step by step. Just as the two of them stepped onto the spatial spirit boat, the door of the boat's cabin was opened, and a beautiful maid respectfully walked out. "Lords, please." Under the guidance of the maid, Xiao Chen entered the cabin. The cabin was a small world of its own. Xiao Chen and Lin Yun were already used to it. This kind of small trick was nothing to a war ancestor realm king. The surrounding grass was chinning, hundreds of flowers were blooming, and the air was even filled with a faint fragrance. Not far away, in a simple pavilion, two figures had been waiting for a long time. An old man and a young man. The old man had white hair, but his complexion was ruddy. The young man, on the other hand, was extraordinarily handsome. These two were the two strongest people in the scattered star seas. The old man's name was Qinzhan, and the young man's name was Wu Qin. Don't be fooled by the obvious difference in their appearances. In fact, the two of them were from the same era. At the level of the war ancestor realm, appearance was no longer important. Wu Qin took the initiative to speak with a smile when he saw Xiao Chen and Wang Chong approaching. "Fellow Taoists, please. The two of you shouldn't be from the scattered star seas, right?" After the four of them were seated, Wu Qin asked with a smile while pouring wine. "Indeed, we're not." Xiao Chen didn't have any intention of denying this. They were indeed not from the scattered star seas, and they didn't plan to stay in the scattered star seas for too long. Hearing Xiao Chen's answer, Wu Qin's expression didn't change much, and he didn't continue to inquire about Xiao Chen and Wang Chang's identities. After all, it was the first time they met, and it wasn't a good habit to ask until the end. To put it bluntly, they weren't familiar with each other. Furthermore, the fact that Wu Qin and Qinzhan were able to invite Xiao Chen and Lin Yun here proved that Wu Qin and Qinzhan had already acknowledged Xiao Chen and Lin Yun. At the very least, Wu Qin and Qinzhan had placed them on the same level as themselves, completely different from the trash outside. It was precisely because they were on the same level that Wu Qin and Qinzhan had to give them enough respect. Otherwise, they would only part on bad terms. Xiao Chen and Lin Yun were far from being comparable to those people outside. The other kings of the scattered star seas might be afraid of Qinzhan and Wu Qin, but Xiao Chen and Lin Yun definitely wouldn't. Therefore, Wu Qin was still very clear about what to say and what not to say. He personally poured wine for Xiao Chen and Wang Chong and then took the initiative to raise his cup. "Fellow Taoists, come and try the fine wine of our scattered star seas." "Okay." Xiao Chen finished his cup in one gulp and said with a smile. "It's a good wine. We're in luck today." "Haha, fellow Taoists, you don't have to be so polite. Of course, there's enough fine wine. Looking at the two of you, you should be heading to the central region, right?" After a few cups of wine, the four of them became familiar with each other and casually chatted about some indifferent topics. Hearing Qinzhan mention the central region, Xiao Chen nodded. It wasn't a secret that they were heading to the central region. Moreover, Qinzhan and Wu Qin had probably already guessed that Xiao Chen and Lin Yun should be from the other four major regions and were from the four great palaces. This was not difficult to guess. The central region. I've been there before. Sigh, everyone says that the central region is the only hope of breaking through to the ruler realm. Unfortunately, even this only hope is very slim. Countless kings have gone there, but in the end, how many of them have succeeded? Seeing Xiao Chen nod, Qinzhan sighed and said, "As a king, who didn't want to break through to a higher realm?" It was precisely because of this that almost every king in the Fire Phoenix galaxy had gone to the central region, and many of them had gone more than once. Their goal was the same, which was to search for that illusory glimmer of hope. Unfortunately, after so many years, there were still very few people who could succeed. Qinzhan was once one of these people, and like most people, he did not succeed. Hearing Qinzhan's words, Xiao Chen smiled slightly. "Hope is slim, but we can't give up. No matter what, We have to go and take a look. You're right. No matter how slim hope is, it's still the only choice. Alright, the matters of the central region are too far away from us. Let's talk about the matter at hand. At this moment, Wu Qin interrupted. As soon as he said this, Xiao Chen and Lin Yun understood that the main topic had arrived. These two fellows would not be so kind as to simply treat them to a drink. He replied without batting an eyelid. Fellow Wu Qin, you can speak frankly if you have something to say. It's fine. In that case, I'll be frank. This tomb can be confirmed to be left behind by a ruler. Perhaps there's a ruler's inheritance in it. However, as you can see, there are many competitors. Moreover, there's a test left behind by a ruler. Even for us, we're not 100% confident. What I mean is that the four of us join forces. No matter who obtains the inheritance, we'll share it with each other afterward. In this way, everyone will benefit. Of course, we won't take it out for nothing. The other three must give some compensation. What do you think? Please collect, vote, recommend. Chapter 32-36. Hearing Qianzhan and Wu Qin's words, Xiao Chen and Lin Yun looked at each other. They didn't expect the two of them to have the idea of working together. Indeed, if the four of them worked together, the ruler's inheritance would be a sure thing this time. This was because there were so many kings and half-step war ancestors present, and the four of them were the strongest. If the four of them were still on the same side, then the others wouldn't have the qualifications to fight at all. Qianzhan and Wu Qin had obviously thought of this, which was why they made such a suggestion. Compared to competing with Xiao Chen and Lin Yun, Qianzhan and Wu Qin were more willing to cooperate. Xiao Chen and Lin Yun had no reason to refuse this suggestion, because it was beneficial and had no harm. Xiao Chen nodded in agreement. Sure. That's good. If the four of us work together, the Emperor's inheritance will definitely be ours. Seeing Xiao Chen nod, Wu Qin laughed loudly, and his heart was filled with confidence. After settling the matter, the four of them began to chat. From Qianzhan and Wu Qin, Xiao Chen and Lin Yun learned a lot about the scattered star sea. Speaking of these two fellows, it was indeed interesting. The two of them were so strong, but they didn't establish any forces in the scattered star sea. It could be said that the two of them were rogue cultivators, and they basically wouldn't interfere in the matters of the scattered star sea. After living for so many years, the two of them only had one goal, and that was to break through to the Emperor realm. That's right, in their eyes, breaking through to the Emperor realm was more important than anything else. After all, they had already cultivated to the limit of the war ancestor realm. Who didn't want to break through to the Emperor realm? Only by breaking through to the Emperor realm could they be considered to have truly become the top combat power of the Fire Phoenix galaxy. They shared their cultivation experiences with each other. Compared to Xiao Chen, Lin Yun, Qianzhan, and Wu Qin clearly had more research on breaking through to the Emperor realm. After chatting for a while, time passed unknowingly. On this day, there was finally a change on the calm surface of the lake. Sensing this, the four of them stood up at the same time, and Wu Qin said with a smile, "It's about to open." As they spoke, the four of them flashed and appeared outside the spatial spirit ship. At the same time, many other figures did the same. These people were all Battle Ancestor Realm kings. Xiao Chen and the other three stood at the center of the lake, while the rest of the people stood at the back. As for the half-step War Ancestor Realm people, they stood even further away. Everyone's gaze was fixed on the surface of the lake. Under everyone's gazes, the water in the lake began to mysteriously evaporate. It was as if there was some mysterious power that quickly changed the terrain. The lake water evaporated and disappeared, and the lake turned into a deep pit. In the deep pit, there was a simple and unadorned stone door. This stone door had always been hidden at the bottom of the lake, and many people had gone in to investigate it before. However, there was no way to open it. He could only wait until the time was up and open it himself. Now was the time to open it. Seeing this scene, everyone landed one after another. Xiao Chen and the other three naturally stood at the forefront. This was the benefit of strength. The stronger one was, the more special the treatment one could receive. However, because the Azure Cloud Sect's ancestor and Feng Ming knew Xiao Chen and Lin Yun, they naturally received benefits and came to the two of them. Regarding this, Xiao Chen and Lin Yun did not say anything. All of their attention was on the stone door in front of them. After about 15 minutes, the sound of Sanskrit appeared out of thin air. This sound was very strange. It was impossible to describe what it felt like, but it seemed to be able to comprehend the great Tao. Needless to say, this was definitely the method of an emperor. Other than an emperor, no one could do this, not even Xiao Chen and the other three. It's about to open. At this moment, Chen Zhan spoke. He obviously knew more about the emperor's tomb than Xiao Chen and Lin Yun. The appearance of the Sanskrit Great Tao meant that the tomb was about to open, and this was what everyone had been waiting for. As expected, not long after, the stone door slowly opened. However, there was a layer of restriction around it. This restriction was the condition to enter the stone door. Only those who were half-step combat ancestor realm and above could enter the tomb. Let's go! As the stone door opened, Wu Qin, Chen Zhan, Xiao Chen, and Lin Yun took the lead and walked towards the stone door. Without any obstructions, the four of them quickly entered. Following them were the Azure Cloud Sect's ancestor and the other combat ancestor realm kings. Of course, Feng Ming was also among them. Seeing that Feng Ming also entered the tomb without any obstructions, the Azure Cloud Sect's ancestor gave her a deep look. This woman had indeed concealed her strength deeply. Being able to enter the tomb meant that she was at least half-step combat ancestor realm. However, in the East Star Continent, everyone thought that her cultivation was only at the Divine Ancestor realm. She had concealed her cultivation and deceived everyone in the East Star Continent. She was truly someone who could not be underestimated. He had long known that Feng Ming was not a simple woman. However, at this moment, the Azure Cloud Sect's ancestors' fear of Feng Ming rose to another level. To be able to deceive everyone and cultivate to half-step combat ancestor realm, who knew when she would truly break through to the combat ancestor realm. Furthermore, the Azure Cloud Sect's ancestor was still wondering if no one in the Dragon Phoenix Valley knew Feng Ming's true cultivation. If even Long Lai and the others from the Dragon Phoenix Valley did not know Feng Ming's true cultivation, then what was this woman trying to do? He was puzzled, but he did not think too much about it. After all, it was not the time to talk about this. With the tomb opening, the Azure Cloud Sect's ancestor naturally wanted to obtain the inheritance of the Emperor. Although the chances were not high, who would be willing to give up? Many combat ancestor realm kings and half-step combat ancestor realm kings entered the tomb one after another. After that were those who came to try their luck. Their cultivations were uneven, but none of them were able to reach half-step combat ancestor realm. Previously, everyone said that those who were not half-step combat ancestor realm could not enter the tomb. However, there were always some who were unwilling to believe it. An old man walked out on the spot. This old man was a divine ancestor realm cultivator. He stared at the entrance of the stone door and said in disbelief, "I don't believe that only those who are half-step combat ancestor realm can enter." After saying that, the old man immediately walked towards the stone door. However, just as he reached the stone door, suddenly, a ray of light descended from the sky. After that, it directly hit the old man. Without any resistance, the old man disappeared in front of countless people. He was directly killed without any reaction. Seeing this scene, everyone's faces changed slightly. Everyone who came here with the intention of taking a gamble. However, at this moment, all of them shook their heads in disappointment. It seemed that the rumors were true. Seeking collection, seeking monthly votes, seeking recommendation. Chapter 32-37. Those below the half-step combat ancestor realm could not enter the tomb. This was something that everyone knew from the beginning. However, there were some people in this world who did not believe it. They felt that it was all made up by those big shots in order to have fewer competitors. Therefore, after knowing this news, there were still many divine ancestor realm, ancient creatures, and world lords who came here. Their goal was the same. They wanted to try their luck. If they could enter the tomb, wouldn't it be a huge opportunity? Unfortunately, such a fantasy was defeated at the very beginning. The warrior who had been obliterated in front of everyone's eyes had told everyone a fact. The sovereign tomb was indeed impossible to enter unless one was at the half-step combat ancestor realm. Disappointment appeared on the faces of countless people. Of course, this was nothing to the various kings. One of the kings who had yet to enter the tomb curled his lips and mocked. A bunch of idiots. Do the kings still have the mood to fool you? The kings naturally did not fabricate such a lie. To put it bluntly, even if these people could really enter the tomb, the threat they posed to the kings was limited. With their strength, it was simply not enough to compete with the kings. Since there was no threat, there was no need for the kings to go through the trouble of fabricating lies. To put it bluntly, this sovereign tomb was a battlefield for the kings from the beginning. Even those half-step kings would only be accompanying the kings if they entered. They had no competition at all. Xiao Chen and the others did not know what was happening outside because they were the first batch of people to enter the tomb. At this time, Xiao Chen had already entered the tomb. However, he was the only one around. As for Lin Yun, Chen Zhan, Wu Qin, the Azure Cloud Sect's old ancestor, Feng Ming, and the others, they had long disappeared. It should be some kind of spatial ability that forcefully separated everyone who entered the tomb. Xiao Chen did not care too much about this, nor was he worried about Lin Yun's safety. With Lin Yun's strength, there would be no problem. There was a long passage in front of him. He could not see the end of it at a glance. The passage was very dim. He walked forward. Along the way, he did not encounter any danger. He did not know what kind of test the sovereign had set up. He walked leisurely in the passage. Not long after, the space in front of Xiao Chen suddenly changed. In the blink of an eye, Xiao Chen was no longer in the passage. He appeared in Emperor Dong's palace. Yes, it was his home in Emperor Dong's palace. Xiao Chen also saw Qin Shuru and his family members, Xiao Yao, Xiao Lao, Xiao Qing, Bai Ruyue, and the others. However, his family members were all lying in a pool of blood. It was obvious that they had been killed by someone. Moreover, the aftermath of the battle continued to be heard around Emperor Dong's palace. It seemed that someone was attacking. Xiao Chen's expression did not change at all in the face of the tragic death of his family and the attack on Emperor Dong's palace. That Xiao Chen of Emperor's Combat Ancestor Palace. Whose play? This was a condition set by the sovereign. Those who entered the tomb were at least in the half-step combat ancestor realm. Who would be afraid of a mere illusion when they reached the half-step combat ancestor realm? In other words, could such an illusion affect a challenger? It was a little boring. Therefore, Xiao Chen did not stop. He stepped over his family members' corpses and continued to walk forward as if nothing had happened. Qin Shuru and the others died miserably. Unfortunately, it did not affect Xiao Chen at all. That was because Xiao Chen knew very well that everything was fake. Along the way, Xiao Chen acted as if he could not see what was happening around him. Until one of the half-step combat ancestor realm warriors charged at Xiao Chen. He looked as if he was going to attack Xiao Chen. Originally, in the illusion, everything was just an illusion. Therefore, such an attack was definitely fake. Just ignore it directly. There was no need to pay attention to it at all. However, when the warrior's attack landed and charged at Xiao Chen, at the critical moment, Xiao Chen's eyes flashed with a strange light. He moved his feet and his body instantly retreated. Just as Xiao Chen dodged, the attack landed. The attack was actually real. It turned out that the attacks in the illusion were actually real. Xiao Chen finally broke into a smile when he saw that. Finally, it's getting interesting. A simple illusion was no longer a challenge for Xiao Chen. After cultivating to such a level, Xiao Chen's state of mind was already as firm as a rock. He would not be affected by anything in the world. Therefore, when he first entered the illusion, Xiao Chen scoffed. After all, it was simply too whimsical to rely on the illusion to test him. Now, the attack in the illusion could actually materialize. It was real. That was interesting. An illusion that was both real and fake was naturally stronger than a simple illusion. Moreover, to be honest, this was the first time Xiao Chen had seen such an illusion. Just as Xiao Chen was thinking, the warrior attacked Xiao Chen again. However, Xiao Chen only pointed with his finger and directly killed the warrior. Following the warrior's death, his corpse fell in front of Xiao Chen. It was clear that this warrior was also real and not an illusion. A puppet? This warrior was not a living person. He was refined into a puppet after death. However, to be able to merge a puppet and an illusion into one, it could be seen that this ruler's methods were extremely superb. Illusion and reality, real and fake. This was the method of a ruler. After killing this puppet, Xiao Chen walked forward again. Not long after, Xiao Chen was attacked again. Moreover, this time, 3 people attacked Xiao Chen at the same time. He was ready to dodge, but just as Xiao Chen retreated, the 3 people's attacks landed. After that, the scene that he expected did not appear. After the 3 attacks landed, they instantly turned into nothingness. Illusion, these 3 puppets were fake. They were formed by the illusion, so their attacks did not have the slightest power. Seeing this, Xiao Chen shook his head and smiled bitterly. It was really difficult to determine whether it was real or fake. Even he could not tell whether it was real or fake. However, if he did not dodge and allowed these attacks to land, what if they were real? Was this the test of a ruler? It did not seem to be as simple as he had imagined. After confirming that these 3 people were formed by the illusion, Xiao Chen ignored them. No matter how they attacked, Xiao Chen did not care at all. Without exception, their attacks disappeared as soon as they came into contact with Xiao Chen. From the beginning to the end, they did not cause the slightest harm to Xiao Chen. Please collect, monthly vote, recommend. Chapter 32-38. The attack in the illusion did not hit Xiao Chen at all. Nevertheless, just as Xiao Chen turned a blind eye to it and continued to move forward, an attack that suddenly appeared made Xiao Chen instinctively feel danger. It was mixed in with the illusions, but this attack was real. It was indeed impossible to guard against it. Fortunately, Xiao Chen's senses were sharp, so he chose to dodge at once. At the same time, in front of Xiao Chen, there were now 4 figures. Needless to say, the figures that had just appeared were not illusions. A strange look flashed in his eyes. He had a whole new level of respect for this illusion formation. At the very least, Xiao Chen had never seen anyone who could set up such a formation. While attacking and killing the puppet, Xiao Chen thought to himself, could the owner of this tomb be a ruler who's a formation master? If that was the case, to be honest, Xiao Chen might be a little disappointed. It was not that formation masters were weak. On the contrary, those who could break through to become rulers in the path of formations were certainly not weak. Nonetheless, for Xiao Chen, who knew nothing about formations, if the tomb's owner was really a formation master and a ruler, it would be much less attractive to him. After all, the inheritance left behind by a formation master was most likely related to formations. However, Xiao Chen had almost never come into contact with the path of formations. As such, the inheritance would be of little use to him. He could not give up the path of swords and study formations just because of a ruler's inheritance. Forget it. Since I'm here, I'll just take it as it comes. No matter what, he was already here, so he could not give up now. Whether it would be useful in the future or not, even if it was useless to him by then, he could just give it to Shen Yuanling and Li Tian. With that thought in mind, Xiao Chen set off again. To be honest, the first illusion test did not pose much pressure to Xiao Chen. Even though the formation was unique and was both real and illusory, with Xiao Chen's powerful perception, almost nothing could hurt him. Xiao Chen walked all the way out of the illusion. Just as the illusion shattered, he finally reached the end of the passage. However, at this time, there was no other way out at the end. It was as if this was a dead end. He looked around and saw that there were arrays everywhere. In other words, it would be very difficult for Xiao Chen to break the wall by force. What does that mean? He wasn't too nervous. On the contrary, he said with great interest. Since he had successfully passed the first level of illusion, it was definitely not a dead end. That was to say, there must be a hidden mystery. Xiao Chen looked around, but he didn't see anything special. After staring for about 15 minutes, Xiao Chen stood in front of him. A passageway suddenly appeared in the originally empty wall. A figure walked out from the passageway. As the figure approached, Xiao Chen quickly saw that it was a War Ancestor Realm King who had entered the tomb with him. If it wasn't a puppet, it should be one of the kings of the scattered star seas. However, Xiao Chen didn't know him, but this person obviously knew Xiao Chen. After all, Lin Yun had caused such a big commotion at the entrance. It was hard not to recognize her. Moreover, when he saw Xiao Chen, a hint of fear flashed in his eyes. He knew that Xiao Chen and Lin Yun were very strong, even strong enough to stand shoulder to shoulder with Chen Zhan and Wu Qin. As for him, he was only at the beginning of the War Ancestor realm. Among the kings, his strength was considered to be at the bottom. At this time, facing Xiao Chen, this person was a little nervous. Moreover, he didn't know what would happen next. On the other hand, Xiao Chen seemed very calm. Because he didn't know what the next test was, Xiao Chen didn't act rashly. The two of them looked at each other like this. However, one of them was relaxed, while the other was extremely nervous. After the two of them stood still, the passageway that the person came from disappeared. A teleportation array lit up on the side, and a line of words appeared on the wall. The winner passes. These 4 simple words clearly explained everything. It was to let Xiao Chen and the person fight each other. The winner would be considered to have passed this test. If they didn't want to fight, the teleportation array on the side should mean that they had given up. They could leave the tomb safely, but it also meant that they had lost the qualification to compete for the Emperor's inheritance. It was a very simple and clear rule. Xiao Chen smiled and looked at the person in front of him. How about it? Do you want to fight? He didn't know this person, and Xiao Chen didn't have the bad taste of casually killing people. If this person wanted to give up and leave, Xiao Chen wouldn't be aggressive. Hearing this, the War Ancestor Realm King obviously fell into hesitation. He knew that Lin Yun was very strong, but Xiao Chen hadn't made a move before, so he couldn't figure out Xiao Chen's background. However, to be able to be with Lin Yun, Xiao Chen shouldn't be an ordinary King Realm King. However, if he were to give up based on these guesses, he would be extremely unwilling. A ruler's inheritance was something that could allow him to defy the heavens and change his fate. Moreover, he had also experienced the illusion test just now. He also secretly guessed that this might be the tomb of a ruler formation master. If that was the case, he would be even more unwilling to give up because he was a formation master himself. If he could obtain the inheritance of a ruler formation master, he might be able to break through to become a ruler. The temptation was simply too great. He didn't make a move earlier. Perhaps his strength isn't what I think it is? That's right. How many kings are there like Lin Yun? He's definitely not that strong. He kept thinking to himself. At this moment, this person clearly thought that Xiao Chen was an ordinary King Realm King because only in this way would he have a chance to win. He did not want to give up just like that. He felt that Xiao Chen was probably someone who was strong on the outside but weak on the inside. His strength was definitely not as strong as Lin Yun's, or rather, there was no comparison between the two. If that was the case, wouldn't it be a pity for him to give up? He had already come this far. No one would be willing to give up now. Seeing how the man's expression kept changing and how he remained silent, it was impossible for Xiaochen not to know what he was thinking. He smiled helplessly. Since the opportunity had been given to him, he could not blame anyone for choosing to bless himself. Since you're not leaving, let's make a move. Looking at this person, Xiaochen said indifferently. His tone was relaxed and calm, as if he did not care about the battle that might break out later at all. He did not care about this person at all and looked as if he was sure that he would win. Please collect, please vote, please recommend me. You're tuning into the Mythic Realms YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.